Someone
All right, thank you, Dean. All right, good evening, everybody. We're gonna call this meeting to order at 7:01. Can I please get a roll call?
Jack Sapia,
Hello.
Ken Woodward.
Here.
Katie Newton.
Here.
Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Shauna Manthorn.
Here.
Bree Woodward.
Here.
Melissa Kowalczyk.
Here.
Holly Kane.
Here.
Mary Ann Springer.
Here. Thank you. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Next, we have approval of minutes. We'll do the public first and then we'll do non-public. I'll make a motion to approve the November 6th public meeting minutes. I have a motion by Mary Ann. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Jack. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Bree?
Just on one point, I can't find the page, so I was looking for it. It says that there are 2 board seats up, but there's 3. So I just wanted that corrected from 2 to 3.
Okay.
Trying to remember what it was.
I know, I was like, I missed it. So I just have to mark.
It's on page 7.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
instead of
that's fine,
2
too.
seats, there's 3 seats up.
Yes.
Any other discussion on the meeting minutes? All right, so motion and second for the meeting minutes as amended by Bree. All those in favor? Opposed and abstain. 1 abstention. Okay, and then we have some non-public.
I don't recall that.
Make a motion to approve the non-public minutes from November 6th.
All right, Bree made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dawn. Any other discussion? I need a couple more minutes. Oh, that's totally fine.
Let's not forget to do that though. Write it down. Yeah.
All right, any other discussion on the meeting minutes? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstain, 1 abstention, it's Alyssa. If you could pass those back. Do we have any student, staff, or family share tonight?
We had the Timberlane Fiddlers scheduled for this evening, but they had a conflict at last minute, so we're gonna be absent of their playing. We will reschedule with them.
That is totally fine, all right. Delegates and individuals, we have 2. Mr. Sapia is up first.
Hi, everybody.
Snowfall.
Jack Sapia. So, a difficult thing for me to talk about, but the Atkinson lip sync was last Friday night, and the building was packed. The students did an incredible job with their performances. It was unbelievable. It's come a long way from what we used to do in the gym, but it's come at a cost. It may be a cost to the district. The rumor on the street is, well, during intermission, the staff got up and gave a presentation that brought the house down. So the rumor on the street is that the staff is currently negotiating with 2 Las Vegas hotels for 2 shows a night. The holdup in the negotiation was the dancing bear. So I just want everyone to know we may be short-staffed moving forward. They also have been asked to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show.
Turning point of the NFL.
So anyways, secondly, on a more serious note, there was some stuff going out around the district about the proposal of the consolidating of the SAUs, SB 57, I believe it is. I reached out to all our reps, our state senators, and I did not find a single person that was going to support that. Some may not have even known about it. I don't see in my wildest dreams that happening. So I had very positive feedback about that, but there were a few posts about what potentially was coming down the pike. And the only thing I'd recommend maybe to the administration or to the board, and I guess we could find this ourselves, but I would personally like to get the up and coming committee, the educational committee agendas a week before, if they come out a week before. So if something like that comes up, we kind of know what's coming down the pike, and maybe and I don't want to put this on the administration, but if there's something that seems urgent or crucial to us, to identify that to the board members, because we potentially could go up and participate in those conversations during the meeting. You have one shot at that, from what I understand, and then it's gone and off the table. So hopefully that puts a few minds at ease about all of that. So, but I am worried about the staff at Atkinson leaving, so we'll address that.
Thank you. Mr. John Downey?
I come here tonight to make a statement for consideration of issues I feel need to be seriously considered by this board. Last budget season, the voters spoke loudly, but it appears the taxpayer has been completely ignored. The mandate to cut $6.9 million last year was not a suggestion or a temporary fix. Since implementing the voted budget, no significant cuts to staff, services, or programs were needed, despite the scare tactics and exaggerated claims by some. To hear at current meetings the overt proposals being brought forward, not only adding contractual plus increases, but replacing most of what was cut last year, is a total disregard of what was voted on by the taxpayers. The current proposed budget and perpetrated default budget being laid out tonight is asking for millions more in funding than the voters allowed at the polls. The Tax Impact Group has published a chart with the current tax rate for all 4 towns with what the tax burden would have been last year if the proposed budget last year and default versus the default was passed last year and approved. The chart was updated to include this fiscal year 27 proposed budget and default budget. If the proposals for this cycle are put forth, there will be multiple dollars per 1,000 increase. This is not working toward finding a reasonable tax burden. In addition, the millions more being asked for will place all new negotiated CPAs expected at a warrant article at risk of failure because more taxes will be raised and added to the proposed budget. What I found when trying to evaluate the presented financial information is many questions and little transparency. Accounting errors from audits not disclosed, state paperwork with late deadlines, returned for correction, or denied for errors. Unfortunately, in my opinion, we are opening this district up to costly litigation, possible resignations, if we don't get the budget under control. Provide taxpayers reasonable, easily accessible information and accurate data. Reading between the lines of tonight's agenda that I've looked at, it looks like the administration is going to say we don't have the funds to finish the fiscal year in the black. That is a now problem. The solution is not a wait and give us more in March. To say the school board, administration, and BudCom is tone deaf would be a major understatement. Thank you.
Any other delegates or individuals?
No.
Could I please get a motion to move the remaining 24 minutes of delegates individuals to the end of the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Shauna, do I have a second? Seconded by Jack, he was too quick on the draw for you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained, okay. Maria, for our audit, there were no findings, were there?
No.
Okay. Even on risks? No, there was zero, okay, thank you.
There is a statement in the audit report about the risk, the measurements that the audit company takes to use risk,
Mm.
but it was not.
No finding, thank you. Yeah, Bree?
I know we were lucky enough not to have to cut any physical people, but do you remember how many positions we had to remove from the budget last year?
30 plus, and we did remove people last year. We had 10 reductions in force.
Thank you. All right, next is student rep. Hello, Cameron.
Give Cameron some sweat tonight. He's pulling double duty. He's gonna spend with us a little time, then he's gonna go perform back at the PAC. So we're glad you're here, Cameron.
Thank you. So here at the high school recently, we just had our play, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It was very successful. I was in that play, and that was the reason why I wasn't in our last meeting. So yeah, fall sports have just finished up, and winter sports are starting or going to be starting after the Thanksgiving break. Today we had our traditional Thanksgiving meal offered by Whitson's, and Mr. Vacarezza and Miss Harble both served lunch in the CAF today. Quarter one just finished up and quarter two has just started, so all of quarter one grades are now completed and finalized. The high school will celebrate its third annual Groutfit Day, which is where all in gray outfits, just as a Thanksgiving break is coming up, being Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. At the middle school, they just had musical auditions for Oz, and they had their cast list come out, as well as a little while ago, their spooky concert where 7th through 12th graders performed for the middle schoolers different Halloween tunes. Atkinson Academy had a very successful lip sync. I was actually there. It was amazing. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys this week.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you so much, Karen. Did Vacarezza have like the hairnet on and everything when he was serving on the cook line?
Definitely.
Turkey
You don't
hairnet.
know pictures?
No, he was serving gravy.
Okay.
He only gravy.
Only gravy?
Only
Is
gravy.
that all they let him touch?
That's all they let him touch.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's true. So we can't get those good action shots.
Yeah, no phones in school.
Hey, what about the Polaroid? Use the Polaroid.
That's true. I should bring my
You should.
Polaroid camera.
Bring out the OG.
Maybe next time.
There you go.
Take a picture of it and send it to us.
You going back to the milkman?
Yes.
All
I
right,
am.
good luck, sir.
Thanks,
Safe drive. All right, next for current business is gonna be our default budget.
Maria, you come to speak to the default budget? So the front part of the agenda for everyone tonight is kind of jam-packed with fiscal pieces, so.
And also too, I know that this says action, but I just want all board members to know that we do not have to take action on this tonight. We have plenty of time to discuss, look at, and then vote on it at a later date, or even possibly look at making some adjustments if we can with this. Remember, the default is kind of honed in on a calculation, so. Hi Maria, thank you for being here. dashboard.
There we go.
It's the top one.
The default budget.
That's what I received.
Yeah, Jen.
This is it.
Dean, are you able just to put the packet up there and we could find it that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be up there.
That's okay. Maria can start talking and we can get it up there. Thank you, Dean.
Good evening. I actually want to start tonight's meeting reading the meaning of the default budget per RSA 40:13. Default budget as used in this subdivision means the amount of the same appropriations as contained in the operating budget authorized for the previous year, reduce and increase as the case may be by debt service, contracts, and other obligations previously incurred or mandated by law, and reduced by one-time expenditures contained in the operating budget and by salaries and benefits of positions that had been eliminated for the proposed budget. For the purpose of this paragraph, one-time expenditures shall be appropriations not likely to reoccur in the succeeding budget, and eliminated positions shall not include vacant positions under recruitment for positions predefined in the proposed operating budget as determined by the governing body unless the provisions of RSA 40:14b are adopted of the local subdivision. In calculating the default budget amount, the governing body shall follow the statutory formula which may result in a higher or lower amount than the proposed operating budget. I feel it's important to read this definition because, as you all are aware, the default budget is simply a formula. It allows or disallows items into the default budget that are very clear stated in the law.
If I could ask one clarifying question, Maria, kind of for the general public as well. So the positions that Mr. Krieger had referred to earlier, the 30 vacant positions which were taken off and the 10 or so actual physical positions, how does that reflect in this default budget? Is that included or not included?
They are not included because they were not included in the voted budget. So those positions were removed as part of the cut of the voted budget. So they are not included in this default budget. There were 37 positions.
So those 37 positions, if they had not been cut, the default budget would have then been that much higher than what you're going to present.
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Maria, thank you.
So starting at the top, we have the 2026 voted budget. It was composed by salaries, benefits, and operating budget for a total of $82,334,912. The increases for the default budget total $8,162,567, and they are as follows. First, the salaries increase is $2,079,034. That increases for increases for TTA per the union CBA, increases for the Timberlane Custodial Union per the CBA, and increases for the Timberlane Cafeteria Workers Union per their CBA. The benefits increase is for increase in health trust GMR for medical and dental insurance for all the employees at the Timberlane Regional School District. And then the FICA and the New Hampshire Retirement System for those increases in the salary lines. The third one is special education contracted services in the amount of $2,349,767. This increase is due to the special education professional services to provide the required services that our students require. The fourth increase is for special education transportation. This increase is due to the special education transportation that we are required to provide to our special education students. The fifth increase is tuition for vocational and other LEAs. Is for $30,000 and is the required amount for students attending other LEAs. The sixth increase is for $844,115 and is the increase due to the projected annual payment for phase four, the lease that was approved by the school board. The seventh increase is for the seventh one is a decrease in special education tuition of $68,823. This decrease is due to a reduction in out of district tuition for our special education students. This is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Superintendent, but I believe this is because we have all these programs now in-house that we are able to retain students here that otherwise will be going out of district. So because we have implemented these programs in-house, now we have students that are retained here and we are reducing the cost of sending them out.
That's correct, and at the elementary level, we're at capacity for one of those programs.
And the eighth and last decrease is for $142,471. And this decrease is due to one-time expenses excluding from the default budget. So these are expenses that were included in the voted budget that are only a one-time expense, so we take them out of the default budget. These include, for the most part, they consist of classroom tables and chairs, whiteboards, staff computers, walkie-talkies, maintenance tools and equipment, elementary classroom instruments, calculators, woodshop tools, equipment like that are a one-time purchase and they are not recurring items. So that brings us to a total default budget of $90,497,479. I also included in the package the list, the itemized list of all these increases. This is the report comparing the voted budget by line item to the proposed default budget. And below this, you also have in your package this list, which is the line item of all the increases that were mentioned per position, all the positions for the TTA, all the positions for the custodians, and the amount of the increase for each of those positions, as well as the benefits and all the other increases by line item. Thank you, Chris.
So for the board to understand, like this is a highly detailed report that's showing the salary increases per position that then lump into that 2 million plus salary on that kind of cover page, so that we can actually very visibly see to the person where the increases are coming from.
Thank you for that,
Thank you.
Mark, and then Dawn, and then Jack and Mary Ann.
Could you scroll back up to the original drivers?
The very first page.
Yeah, first page.
Too far.
So I think most people will understand that the biggest drivers of any school are its people, and that's driving the salaries. And we can go line by line for every salary position where that increase comes from, in benefits, from health to dental to setting aside for the state, et cetera. So I think people understand that. The other major bucket I see here is SPED contracted services, transportation, and tuition. So contracted services, up 2.3 million. SPED tuition down 70,000. In SPED transportation up 445. Could either yourself or Mr. Krieger just kind of give an overview as to how those pieces work together? Because it seems to me that it seems odd that if our tuition went down, but our transportation went up and our specialized services went up. Specialized services, that's where we hire outside folks in to take care of our students. Why did that go up so much and we needed to spend that much more in SPED transportation? Is it because we have an increased number of students, or transportation is just one of those costs that we need to bite the bullet on?
So Ms. Drexel's here as well, and I think she'll clarify what I'm going to say perhaps. But the special ed contracted services, shows up on the operating portion of the budget. And as I shared with you folks, I think 2 weeks ago, we're all educated enough now to understand those are people, and that's personnel. So we're looking at, we're currently offering right now, right? These are contracts that we're underway with that we're going to need to continue for next year for services for kids. Also at the last budget committee, we had a really good breakdown provided by Ginger about the FTEs in those positions from contracted services and how they outpace the personnel that's in the budget. And the conclusion we were able to draw with the budget committee is we have more needs in front of us than what's currently in the operating budget specific to that group there. And in terms of transportation, that's going to really vary on what schools those kids are going to, where they live, how many kids we can fit on those routes together. We made a massive reduction in transportation during the budget reduction on that last thing. We are anticipating we're going to fall short this year. So this is also our way to kind of say we need to project more and for things that we're going to need. Also, Maria, we also learned for the default for transportation, for our legal counsel there, can you educate the board about something we learned this year that we then are now not including in the default for transportation expenses?
Yes, so like Mr. Krieger said, that amount is for special education and it's two parts. One is the increase for next year in those routes that we are expecting to run, and it's also the reinstatement of the budget cut that we had in 2026, in the 2026 voted budget. We also learned that for the default budget, we cannot include the increase in regular transportation. Is not allowed by law to be included in the default budget now. It was a bill passed that disallows the increase for regular transportation to be included into the default budget.
So it used to be a bill was passed, now it can't.
Okay. Yes, and this was confirmed by our attorney. So we did not include the regular transportation increase, which is by contract, because we do have a contract with our transportation company, and the rate increase is part of the contract, but we are not allowed to put it in the default budget.
If I may follow up, so just so that I'm understanding, if we had the exact same number of students on the exact same number of buses, taking the exact same number of routes, because none of our students pass, they all stay in the same grade, et cetera. And the transportation costs contractually, we are going to be paying more by several percentage, I don't know what that is. Even though that is a default cost, we're not allowed to put that in the default budget and reflect what the actual expenses are, even if we did not transport one extra student, 1 extra mile. That's awesome.
State law said no. All right, Don?
His question was much more thorough than my question about the same thing. But basically characterizing that difference between previous year's expenses and the sped contracted services this year, what's the percentage increase?
Say that again, Don?
Our sped contracted services are up $2,349,767
Over the voted budget.
over the voted budget. Okay. What percentage increase do you see moving forward? Is that going to be a static thing? Is that going to be year to year becoming more and more profoundly an impact that we can't quite cover?
The trend is very clear over the last 4 to 5 years that those lines are the lines that are substantially growing, so the needs that we need to provide. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Are we
I'm
projecting
looking
to
for
see
what's the
that?
solution? How do you get ahead of that? I'm perplexed. I don't see an easy out, and I know that people are going to be upset over that, that expense. Going out in the district, spending more every year than we would spend if we were able to employ them here under normal
What's the
situations.
solution to that?
Yeah.
We have really good contracts and we hire really good people that are ours that do this work. That's the solution.
I want to keep that in mind, because it seems like this isn't working for us.
Jack?
So kind of along those same lines, I guess my question is on the sped contracted services, how do we drive that need so early on? In other words, that's an increase. That's, my guess is, an increase in services to more students. How do you?
Or more service to the same students.
But it's driven, I think, by IEPs and stuff like that, like.
100%.
Yeah, like this isn't something that we just wanna give.
No. I guess my question was, how do you come up with that specific number? What was that based on in the research there or the data that drove that number?
Ginger, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you.
I want to hear from you.
So the $2 million increase that you're seeing in special education contracted services is really relative to the fact that last year we had a $2 million cut in the special education budget. So this year we're going to have to make up that gap somewhere. The needs of our students are increasing. They're not staying status, but even if they were, that $2 million amount is money that we would have to find in the budget to pay for those services that we're obligated to provide for students. If you look at the number that is projected for next year, that's based really on projecting out the costs this year with about a 5% increase, which is what we typically see from one contract year to another. And if you look for last year's trend, this year's spending trend, and what's projected for next year, there's really not a lot of discrepancy between the 3 years. I feel like it's a fairly conservative number and something that we can work with.
I was just wondering how we came up with that.
So a lot of projection, but really looking at what we do, what we need, how much it costs, really right down to the hour.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions on salaries. Not salaries, benefits. It's listed as increase per health test GMR for medical and dental, and I think medical was like 12 to 14% increase.
We have 3 different plans and the 3 of them have different increases. One was 14.1%, the other one was 11.1%, and the other one was 8%.
Okay, and so that benefit number includes those percent increases for all employees who are covered by benefits.
Yes,
So it's not
the way
just.
we do the budget for the health and dental insurance is we take the roster of the people that are participating in the plan and in the month of October, and we increase that membership with those increase with the GMR that was given to us to project for the following year. So it's actual enrollments as of the month of October with the increase.
Okay, and then the FICA and the NHRS are just percentages of the increased salary.
Yes, so those TTA positions, custodians and cafeteria workers is the corresponding FICA and New Hampshire retirement system for those increases in those positions.
And did those rates stay the same this year as last year, or did they go up? I know last year there was something about.
FICA is the same, New Hampshire retirement system went down slightly for both categories, for teachers and non-teachers. Teachers are at 19.23% and staff is at 12.75%.
On the sped transport, no, not the sped transportation. When you mentioned the regular ed transportation can't be included in the default budget, I tried to look at the RSA about default budgets, and it had a lot of stuff about contracts had to be approved in the prior year. Is that why the regular ed transportation increase can't be included, because it wasn't approved until the contract didn't come into place until this year?
No, it's because the transportation contract is not a separate warrant article, it's not a special warrant article. It's just every 5 years we go out to bid for the transportation contract, and it just gets added to the increase gets added to the budget. So because it's not a special warrant article, or it's its own warrant article, and it's approved by voters as its own warrant article, then does not qualify to be added to the default budget.
And can I keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Keep going.
One curiosity, you mentioned a bunch of things for the one-time expenses. Were the calculators for high school math because they can't use cell phones in class anymore, or was it totally unrelated to that? Do you know?
I'm sorry.
High school math, former
that.
high school math teacher.
It's an unfunded
That's a
mandate.
curious question.
Possibly.
Or is it something that we buy every year to
Yeah,
have some in the
We
classroom?
can look into that for sure, but for years, for the SAT, for example, there are sets of classroom calculators. They're not, TI 84s or anything like that. They're basic calculators that we provide to students for state testing and things like that. So I'm not sure if those are replacements or due to the cell phone ban. We can certainly ask about that.
I kind of key in on anything. I think
Sure.
it's an unfunded mandate from the state,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that was mine. Okay, bigger one, the lease payment addition of 844,000. I know I already asked and was told that this is because in the voted budget, the lease line was not budgeted at the 2 million that is raised, that is already approved by the voters, because the payment due was less and there was a need to reduce the budget to fit the voted budget.
Yes.
Okay, and so this is not going above and beyond that 2 million, it's bringing the budget back up to the number that is required for next year.
Required for phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, yes.
Thanks, Marianne. You asked 2 of my questions. I appreciate it.
All right, I'll stop now.
No,
in case I'm asking everybody.
No, you're
No,
good.
literally,
Keep
I
going.
literally
asked
both my questions. But pause, does anyone have any questions at this time? Are you all good for Marianne? Keep going. Fire away, keep going,
No, I
Marianne.
think I'm done on this part.
Sure? Anybody else? Bree?
So if we wanted to, let's say, have the default at 85 million. What would that look like? Based on these mandated legal obligations by CBAs and laws and contracts.
Our role is to calculate the default budget according to the RSA and not to make the number what we want it to be. Maria, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's because like the law says, it's a formula, right? So you take what was approved by voters and then you add or subtract contractual agreements. That's basically what it is. It's nothing more or nothing less. It's a number.
Jack?
I'm sure this will come up somewhere during the course of the year. Some of these capital expenses that we spent don't change any of this because they were on the capital line. So even though we may not be doing the same project, could you just walk everyone through that more for the cameras?
They are recurring expenses because every year we have a capital improvement committee that assigns projects every year for that amount. So they are recurring expenses, they are not a one-time expense.
It may not be the same project, but it will come off the same line. We just, before we have to reiterate that a few times. Thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions before I let Marianne go again? Okay, go.
So following on from that, not just for the capital projects, but for the operating budget, in the default budget process, we can't reduce lines without being able to prove that we don't need that next year. Say I took something like new equipment. The money that is in this year's budget for new equipment has to be in the default budget.
No, those are the reductions. So that line of reductions, if you see at the detail list, is all that equipment that we bought that was a one-time purchase that is not gonna reoccur. So we have different lines in the budget for equipment, right? Some of the lines, like the Chromebooks for students, that is a recurring expense because every year we have to replace it. We have to buy new Chromebooks for the 6th graders and the 9th graders. So that's not a one-time expense, it's a recurring expense. So that is in the budget because of that, because it's recurring.
Okay.
So an example would be like the athletic department wants to replace a wrestling, like a practice wrestling mat. They put that in their budget. We buy it that year. It comes out of next year because it was a one-time expense.
Okay. Okay, so I wanna go through the detailed lines that, we, received, cause I had the high level, earlier this week to look at, but in terms of all these lines and matching up, the things to the items, the high level summary, I'd like some more time to look at that, cause I just saw that today.
Yeah, again, we don't have to take any action on this. We can do this.
Well, yeah, that one just boggles my mind, but the
Yeah.
one before it, the one with the.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sean?
Yeah, I guess I'm feeling a little bit confused on how we account for transportation. We don't, even though it's required,
But it's state law stating that we can't.
right?
But it's
Okay.
required by the state.
Okay.
Mark and then,
So I know the transportation line is going up, contractually it is. We can't reflect that in this budget.
It's
If,
default
in the
budget.
default, right, we can't
Yeah.
reflect it
Yeah.
here per law.
So that's not actually.
So the default is a faulty default, because it's not reflecting our contractual obligations. If we needed to decrease, would one of the areas, I don't even wanna go down that route, every pun intended, but decreasing busing routes. If it's not reflected, do we have to provide the same services, the same busing routes that we have?
It's one of the buckets that we presented to BudCom, and I'll have more information for them Monday night about pulling back on the extent to which we provide transportation and moving toward the minimum standard, which is 2 miles from the school. We currently transport at 1 mile from a school, and we transport even closer than that. So again, as we presented to BudCom, that's gonna be a value decision about what they wanna do. But the point is still not lost, that whatever is in the default, you need to make work as a board for whatever the needs are in front of you. So the transportation is one of those issues that is just gonna be a challenge if we're there.
Marion and then Bree.
So did you say transportation, we typically do multi-year contracts every few years?
Yes.
So could the multi-year contract be a warrant article and then have subsequent year increases incorporated into the default?
It can be, is an option, but then you run the risk that if the one article does not pass, then you are with absolutely nothing. So that's why most school districts, I don't think there's any school district in the state of New Hampshire that puts it as a separate warrant article, because if voters vote no, then you are not able to provide transportation and you're only. Now, I also want to say this year is even more challenging because last year, as part of the reduction in the budget, in the voted budget, we did take $500,000 out of the regular transportation line to make the requested decrease that the voters voted for. We took $500,000 of regular transportation out of the budget. So the voted budget is already short $500,000 for regular transportation. So we don't have the $500,000 plus the increase from this year.
About how big is the increase for next year?
It's $20 per bus per
For
day.
regular transportation.
We run we're contracted for 29 buses a day, 180
Plus
days.
the buses, plus the field trips, plus the flags, plus the music.
I think I just answered that.
Jack.
So on the busing thing, if we're $500,000 short, how are we providing that service, or do we take the money from somewhere else to fill that space? Is that a legitimate question?
Yeah, we find the money from somewhere else to fill that space.
And do we know where that,
Figuring out as we move along this year.
okay, and I don't mean, this is about the default budget, not busing, but I wanna wrap my arms around that.
Bree, and then I think Dawn has something.
So just to be clear about the bus, what we paid last, or like this year, is already in the default budget, but it does not reflect any increases or if we were under, like, achieving.
Yes.
Well, actually, no.
No.
because This year's budget, this year's voted budget was cut $500,000.
So it's short,
Short
that's what I'm saying.
Plus the increase. So the
Yes.
base of the default
But like,
budget
so like
is already $500 short of what the actual need is.
So
But the
So it's-
base,
so two things are there, right? It is the what's not in there is the increase per route.
Right.
Okay. And what's not in there is the $500,000 that we removed from the previous year. So those two things make up a whole there.
Don?
You know, I mean, I was watching the budget committee meeting that was broadcast and saw the various buckets that you suggested they look at, should they be wanting to come and address where we are at the default budget. And they will come up with, I'm sure, ideas that influence their final decision on what we will look at later and have to make hard decisions about before that joint meeting to see where their heads are at and feedback, from your perspective on the impact of the thought processes as they finalize and come to, predictable problems for us to address.
Any more questions on the default budget? Yep, Alyssa?
Just a curious question to what you were saying, Justin, about the transportation and if we have to cut back to the 2-mile default that we aren't gonna provide transportation for, how much would that, do you know how much that would save us?
We're looking at it right now. First Student's giving me some data that I'm hopefully gonna be able to run tomorrow and then present that number. And really what I'd be looking to identify is how many buses could we eliminate from the fleet? We got dollars on those buses per day and 180 days, and pretty easy to multiply for a cost figure. But a very different experience for kids and families.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So lot to digest, so I'm gonna suggest that we don't do any action on this. We all go back and look at this and we can have it on the agenda for the next time to do anything with.
And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm available. I can send the numbers if you have any questions or you have anything.
Really appreciate that, and thank you for the level of detail too as well, Maria, thank you very much. And then I think you're staying for the budget to actual report.
So I'm gonna start with the dashboard. We will have every month, since we are already familiar with that one. So I'm gonna start at the top, which is the actuals as of year to date compared to actuals of year to date last year. So for revenue,
Could we pause for just 1 second?
I'm sorry.
Could we possibly have that?
Oh, there
Yeah,
she's
we
got
go.
it, Maria's
Oh,
got it.
perfect. There we go.
Appreciate it.
So revenue, so far this year, we have received 25,746,897. That compares to 24,589,904 that we received by this time last year. For expenses, we have incurred 21,299,667 this year compared to 20,986,787 prior year. To the graphs on the right, you can see the monthly comparison where we're higher or lower in both revenue and expenses. In the middle row, we have the actuals compared to the budget. So revenue, we have received 36% of our expected budget, and expenses, we have incurred 25% of expenses for our budget. In the middle graph, you can see for the revenue, the sources of revenue, 88.4%. The revenue that we have received has come from taxpayers. 8.9% has come from state and federal sources, and 2.8% has come from local sources. And the actual expenses, 26.1% have been operating expenses, 40.4% has been in salary expenses, and 33.5% have been in benefits. In the bottom section is our projection for expenses. As we mentioned before, now that all of our programs and for special education are set and we know the needs that these students have, we are projecting a $2 million hold in the professional services line. So the projection for fiscal 2026 has increased by $2 million to $84,708,624. It's a challenge that we're facing. This is why we're bringing it up to you in November, because we have been watching, as you know, very closely every single month what expenses are, where our revenue is, and we are hoping that we can get by with the resources that we will get throughout the year. But we wanted to let you know that that's where we are right now.
Are there any grants or anything that we're actively going for any of this? I know we get some that are recurring every year. Are there any new ones out there that we're going for?
No, so we have the IDEA grant, which is the primary grant that special education has. Ginger has actually very actively submit all the expenses that we can submit for that grant. We are caught up with the grant that the grants that last between 2 years because they last a year and a half. So we have submitted all the expenses that we can submit for those grants and we reimburse. So Ginger has done a very good job on submitting everything that we need for that.
Okay.
And those are the resources that we have. So we are exhausting everything and anything that we can do for that. At the bottom, we have the student count at the end, as of the end of October, was 3,213 students. We have 592 active employees and 65 special education contractors.
Anybody have any questions about the dashboard? Marianne?
I have one question. There were a couple things that came up over the last several months where we were going to get reimbursed for something. Are we expecting any reimbursements of things that we paid for last year or earlier this year that might come in before the end of the fiscal year? I can't remember offhand what they were. It was something in technology where we have to pay up front, but then we sometimes
get reimbursed.
Yeah, those are the safety grants. Those are grants that Ken, our director of technology, applies every year. We have not received the response yet if we were awarded the grant. So we're still waiting. And same thing happens with any of the grants that we have, right? So like the special education, we have the funds, so we just monthly submit all the expenses that qualify for that grant and submitted. We also have Sandy's grants, which are Title I and Title IV, which also Sandy, every month she submits all the expenses that can be charged to the grant and we get reimbursed for those.
And Maria, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the IDEA and the title grants are in these expected revenue projections on the dashboard.
Okay.
Whereas the SAFE grant, Marianne, wouldn't be on here until we,
Until we get awarded.
The other thing I'd like to point out to the board is that we've been running the same kind of graphic to you for the last, I don't know, since the spring. One thing I wanted to point out is for the contractors, we've got 65 contractors there. We did some work with Ginger last week. That translates to something like 54 and a half full-time equivalency positions. So although we have 65 people, they're not 65 full-time people. Some of these contractors are coming in and providing a few hours of services over the course of the week for folks. So look at it, versus FTEs versus full-time folks with us. I think it provides just more clarity to that number.
So when I see 592 employees and 65 contractors, the 65 contractors are specifically educators?
Correct.
Okay, not construction guys. And the 592 employees incorporates all our employees, our maintenance people, our teachers, our...
Everyone who's coming through our payroll.
Okay, because I was interested to know how many educators out of that 592.
I'm smiling because we talk about it every day. So we got a lot of different graphs that we could share with you, just so you guys could see the breakdown across the district and how people fall.
Thank you.
A little bit more for clarification for the 592 employees. Are those FTEs or actual individuals?
Actual individuals.
Okay,
So
but
some
in
of,
some of those are part-time.
yes, some of those are 0.5 or
0.5s, yeah.
0.6 or 0.80 or, yeah, it's
Physical bodies.
individuals.
W-2s.
Does that also, go towards students where those aren't necessarily the students in our building, but the ones that we have to outsource?
Absolutely true. So those are also include charter school students that are identified that we are still financially responsible for, and out of district students that we're engaging with families and placing those students out of district that we're also financially responsible for. Those are included in that calc.
Yep, check.
So Justin, if you could, or Maria, 30,000 feet, what is that challenge here?
Using the
Do we have it using
the
information
resources
that we
that
have?
we
Yeah.
expect throughout the year to be able to meet the required expenses that we're gonna have. And that takes a lot of talking and thinking and decisions that are hard.
Any other questions on the dashboard? And we do appreciate the dashboard. It's
Yes.
it's very clear, concise, and we really appreciate that. All right. I think are you here for schedule of payments as well?
Yes. That as well.
Can I
Yeah,
just make
hold
a
on.
point of
Jack.
order?
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
I live around the corner from the SAU, and it doesn't get beyond me when I drive by here on my way out, the midnight oil. I can tell by the vehicles in the parking lot and the hard work that goes into this. So I just wanna voice my appreciation for that. And so just everyone needs to be aware, a lot of people here putting in a lot of long hours.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Go ahead, Maria.
So the next item is the schedule of payments for the second semester for our towns. Twice a year, in the fall and in the spring, I submit the schedule of payments to our towns. The first semester obviously is an estimate with the numbers that I have for as an estimate. And then in the fall, because the tax rates are set and everything is filed with the Department of Education and the Department of Revenue Administration, then I have final numbers, so I adjusted to do the second semester of the schedule. So this is the final second semester schedule for each of our towns.
And just to clarify, Justin, you worked with the towns in the past and they liked the schedule of like front loading it heavy.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
Maria's, go ahead.
I actually gonna go and show you the entire year, the schedule for the entire year.
We'll visualize it for you. It's actually before the doc you were on before, up in the agenda.
Oh,
Yeah.
you said, okay.
There you go.
Oh, it's kind of small and I apologize. So this is the total annual schedule for the towns. And what we do is we work very closely with our towns and we adjust our payments to their cash flows. So you can see in the upper portion of this report, you can see each of the towns and the monthly requirements. So you can see July, August, September, and October have larger apportionment of the payments, while November and December are lower at 5%. Then you have January, February, March, and April at a higher percentages than May and June. And that's because obviously the towns bill taxpayers for their taxes in July and December. So we do this to help the towns with their cash flow as well. So 95% of the cash that we receive comes from the towns and the adequacy aid. That's 95% of the income that we receive. The second portion shows the payments for the adequacy aid. Those usually come in September. 20% comes in September, 20% comes in October, 30% comes in January, and 30% comes in April. So, as you can imagine, dealing with the cash flow in this manner is challenging because we have the same expenses every month or pretty close to be the same expenses every month The only month that is not as much is July, because obviously we don't have our teachers or our educators, our faculty here, so that is the light month for us. But every other month, our expenses are pretty constant. So this is why having cash reserves help us to make payroll in those months that our inflow is a little lighter. So with that said, I have created cash, and I left a printed copy of the reports in your desk so you can see it better. So the big one that you have is last year's cash flow report. So you can have an idea of what is the cash flow for our district. So at the top, you have the beginning cash balance. Now, to remind you, this is actual cash. It's not expenses, it's just the cash that comes in and out of the district. So at the top of the report, in the big sheet that you guys have in front of you, this is the 25, so you have the entire year. So we start at the beginning cash balance of 18,366,218 in the month of July. Then the first portion is the deposits. So those are all the cash items that we receive throughout the month. That gives us a total deposit. And then the disbursements are all the cash disbursements that we do through the month. So if you follow through every month, the ending cash balance at the end of the month becomes the beginning cash balance at the beginning of the following month. So since this is a new report, I wanted to present it to you, the 25, so you can have an idea of what the entire year looks like.
This is
And then
excellent.
going forward, I'm gonna be presenting this, which is this current year cash flow report that will tell us where we are in the month. Because as you know, our budget was decreased and cash could become a challenge throughout the year. I am trying to find it here in my, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we started this year with $8.3 million as a cash balance. As of today, we have cash deposits of $26,279,782. And we had cash disbursements of $19,458,859. That leaves us with an ending cash balance of $15 million. If you see the disbursements for October were $6.4 million. Now, if you go back and remember, in November and December, we are only receiving 5% from our towns in cash. So that 15 million that we have now in the bank has to help us carry over for the next 2 months at about $6.5 to $7 million. So we have the cash for that plus 10% that we're gonna receive. So that those are the months that, as you can see, are a challenge, right? Because if it happens that one of them, like in January, we pay all the stipends, right? So we pay athletic stipends, we pay all the stipends for the clubs, for the athletics. So that month is heavier. So we have to have a reserve, which in this case is about 2 months of expenses that we have in the reserve.
Essentially, it's really a cash flow issue for these months that's going to be tight. Expenditures will exceed intake because of the way we're working with the towns, et cetera.
Right.
Nice.
And then in the spring, the months that we receive the higher cash, you will see a bigger and bigger balance, because that is the balance that is gonna carry us for June, because as you know, June is our heavy month, because we pay the balloon payment for our staff, for our instructional staff, which is 5 pay checks in 1 month. So that usually runs at about $12 million, the payroll for June.
Two and a half times what it typically would be.
So I hope this is helpful, and like I said, it's gonna be accompanied by the dashboard every month, so we all can be aware of where we are with cash.
This is awesome. Thank you. It does clarify it. So hearing somebody say it is one thing, being able to actually look at it and chew on it and see the numbers is something else. Is this something that's going to be, is it currently available or will it be available to the general public on our site as well as one of the reports?
It's part of the agenda, and I can put it with the dashboard as well in the.
I think
Yeah,
that may
please
be
put it in the
helpful
dashboard.
just so that people can actually see it.
100%,
Sure,
yes, we
yeah.
can absolutely do that.
Great. And just to clarify, because you say we have like a beginning cash balance of roughly 8 million. We returned all of the unassigned fund balance, and that's again just what is in flux with our accounts. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, this is very confusing. So the return of the unassigned fund balance is basically we credit each of the towns get a portion according to how many
We credit what we
they
appropriate
have.
for the
They
fee.
get a credit for the following year on that. So what that does is reduce the amount of cash that we will receive from each of the towns. So instead of getting those 7 million that we have in the unassigned fund balance in cash from the towns, now we're not gonna receive that 7 million in cash. So that is the challenge, that gets reduced of the actual cash that comes in.
So when you did the fall appropriation schedule, I think each town had amounts to pay each town had amounts each month for July to December. And some of the towns skipped months and made up and things like that. If a town isn't making a payment during a month, do they let you know ahead so that especially this year, if cash gets tight in November and December, that you know ahead so you can, I don't know what, I know you can't make money, but make cash, but.
We have requested from the towns that they let us know. Unfortunately, they don't, so we just ask when we don't see that the payment has come, we continuously ask if they can give us an idea of when they're gonna be sending the check. And we have communicated with them that this year especially, we are expecting them to pay their dues, the due amount every month.
And if they had requested a different schedule, you would try to accommodate that.
Yeah, that's what I always communicate to them. I'm opening if this is not working for them. When I started working here, it was a flat amount every month, or it was different. And working with the towns, I saw their need, so that's why we adjusted it to be aligned with their cash flow. So I'm happy to work with any of our towns, but they also need to understand that we have obligations that we need to pay, so.
Like all things, Marianne, I just think it's really good communication. That's what we would like to see from across the board.
All right, any more questions about the schedule? Again, this is something we have to kind of vote on every year. These are, they've talked with the townspeople, this is what they, Board of Selectmen have said that they want to keep doing. If not, then
I'll make a motion to approve the second semester payment schedule in accordance with RSA 195:14.
motion by Shauna, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alyssa, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstain, all right, thank you. And then budget transfer, is that you, Ginger? Oh my goodness gracious.
Maria, do you need a truck to help you pack up materials?
Well, whenever I bring everything that I need and don't need it, that don't have it.
And thank you again, Maria, for the reports and the detail of them. They're a lot easier to read now. Thank you. Go ahead.
Alright, so I am here tonight to request a budget transfer, as what has been alluded to a few times this evening, that we anticipate, contract service lines across the special education budget to exceed what was allocated in fiscal year 26 for those expenses. Similar to what has been done in prior years, we have done transfers from open and vacant, special education, salary lines to transfer into those contract service lines to be able to compensate or pay for those personnel that we're contracting to have here in lieu of being able to hire them directly. So I am respectfully requesting a transfer of $1,531,494.38. That would exhaust all of the open and vacant positions that we have for this school year in special education.
Agree.
And is that just to cover this month, or are you hoping that's like?
No, it'll exceed more than 1 month's worth of expenses. And we still project about a $2 million deficit even once this money has been transferred into the special education budget, but this will help kind of us be able to continue to pay the invoices as they come in. We are kind of getting to a point with the budget right now where we're not able to encumber enough in some areas to be able to pay those expenses. So rather than shifting across POs, it will also help me to project what I have available so that I can responsibly plan around those expenses as well.
Are these positions that we're transferring the money from open positions like on our list of open positions on the website? So they are?
So none of these positions are currently posted,
Okay.
but they are open positions that are connected to open positions through human resources.
So we're not actively seeking
We
to
had,
get anybody
we had
for these positions?
some positions open and posted. We had a speech position, a case manager position, I believe at the high school, and then one additional case manager position, correct? And then as we've needed to, if we've, like a para-professional wanted to be interviewed for a direct hire position, we've been able to use a job code, in those positions to be able to hire direct and then not have to utilize that for a contract service position. But this, what you see in the executive summary, reflects all of the open vacant positions at current. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
So what was the number, 1,000,000?
$1,500,031,494.38.
So I'll make a motion to move that number for to be transferred for the budget transfer.
Okay.
And after the second, I just have a quick.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Jack to approve the budget transfer for $1,531,494.38. Seconded by Shauna, and then comment.
Yeah, so the general public, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if we had these employees in-house, it would be approximately $750,000, right? Actually, that's half. It would be 2/3 less if we were doing this in-house, correct? Isn't that kind of the
I think that's too large to assume right now,
Okay.
because we would wanna look at who here is taking benefits and what the actual contracts are, how many different agencies there are, are they all the same?
substantially less?
I can't answer that for you, Jack, without
It
crunching
would be
the numbers.
less.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be less.
All right.
And I think one of the things I can add is that contract services covers all of the what we say 54 FTEs that we employ across the district. But there are other things that also come out of contracted services. So if we have to contract out for prior evaluations, if we're providing services at the charter schools, those are also contracted services that we utilize.
And one last question, and I think now's the time to bring it up. Should we continue to post these positions with the hope of filling them? I know it's late in the year, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. At least, is it too much of an encumbrance upon the district to pursue those things?
Well, I guess my response to that is if we utilize all of these funds, then we don't have the salary to pay somebody if we were to direct hire them. Does that
make sense, Jack? So in
Oh,
some
no, I
some
get it,
years,
so.
a larger part of the unassigned fund balance was salaries.
You understand where I'm getting going with
Absolutely.
this. I would much rather have in-house people than out-of-house people. I almost wanna, no offense, I love you to death, but almost wanna do a lesser number to leave that some funds there in case we could hire someone internally. And I don't know how you guys feel about that. I know you got a lot on your plates, but it just trying to think outside the box here of, I just like having our own, and I think you do too. I mean, I think that's your first preference, right?
100%. And I'm glad that you're picking up, like, this is the year where this plan here exhausts the open and vacant positions within the special education
So
department.
do we want,
That says something.
so let me ask you your opinion on this. Does it make sense to do a portion of this?
Could I respond to that?
Yeah.
I think one of the factors that is driving that decision or the conversation that Justin and I had about removing those positions, because I know it has been the desire of the board to make sure that we continue to have those positions posted so that we can direct hire and save that cost. For those open positions that we've had and they've been available on Frontline for quite some time, we've had 0 applicants.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, that the school psychologist positions, those are pretty high salary potentially, situation. But they do so many things in terms of whether it's testing or, identifying the need that and expenses that we're gonna have to incur. What's the sweet, where would the money that it costs to attract people to do this work, where would that put us? What's the going rate? Why are we not getting candidates? And
It's not just Timberlane.
Is it a critical shortage?
Most psychologists, Don, and most school districts are part of the teachers' agreement. So they're bound by the contract that is available for teachers.
Well, what teachers we have making that salary?
For contracted services, for people that we can't hire, yeah, that is going to be outside the bounds of a teacher contract.
The other thing that we combat in this set of circumstances as well is that some of your contract service agencies are starting to offer benefits, PTO, insurance, some of those things, plus a higher hourly rate. So we continue to compete against some of those aspects, and people have, with their contract agencies, have the ability to move around. They have I think that for some people, there are benefits to that are challenging for us.
That flexibility is not something that we can necessarily offer to people, and certainly the pay isn't. Just contractually, we are unable to do that.
John?
So would it be fair to say, short-term plan, we need to do this budget transfer because we need to be able to pay for these contractually obligated, legally obligated services that we provide to children. Long-term plan, which I know we've been chatting about and thinking through, is making sure that we have really good contract negotiations with our unions to have reasonable CBAs that go out there so we can attract people. Okay.
Great. So when we eliminated those positions, even though they may not have been people positions, that affected our ability to draw from these funds and pay for these services?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstain. All right, thank you. Next is Energy Efficiency Lease Project.
Doc Martin, you don't have to jog.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Ginger.
So, I'm going to read my executive summary to you because that's the only way it will make sense, especially since I'm speaking a foreign language here to some of us. So, though significant HVAC work has been completed at the high school, there's still a split unit condenser portion of the unit which is in disrepair. I'll pause to explain. You received a report from the Gale Associates and EEI of about $125 million in deferred maintenance. What was chosen to move forward with in the lease project was for energy efficiency were those units that were broken, period. And that's not to say that there weren't other units that were coming to end of life. So this unit, AHU2, air handling unit 2 paired with condensing unit 2, are conventional split systems that have reached the end of their expected service life and the condensing unit is dead. This affects the 200 wing classrooms at the high school. There are 7 classrooms there that have air exchange but have no dehumidification. And it happens to be a side the sun beats in on, et cetera, et cetera. A condensing unit 2 has a failed compressor also, and due to the system's age and reliance on phased out R22 refrigerant, better known as Freon, it is no longer cost effective to invest in further repairs. If we invested in further repairs, we're taking a risk that the repairs that we do will not extend the life of the rest of the unit, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. AHU and condenser exhibits were consistent with end-of-life equipment and currently does not include variable frequency drives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is an important piece also. Additionally, the evaporator coil in AHU is not accessible from the service side due to its proximity to the wall, complicating maintenance and repair. I received this information from an investment grade energy audit that EEI is currently producing, that is required by law to submit with their next contract for the remaining phases of the lease. The Facilities Committee will be examining the independent investment grade audit in its entirety, which will be completed by EEI to outline the remaining split units throughout the district, which will need to be monitored for replacement going forward. So there are 3 more units at the high school. Those are functional at the moment. But we don't know what will happen going forward. And there are also other units of this nature in other schools. There's also some mini splits like you and I might have in our home in some classrooms at the high school. So what we are requesting is $296,043.45, which is the remaining unassigned dollars from the lease project to repair the unit noted above. It should also be noted that we are doing the roof in the 200 wing this summer, and it makes sense to purchase this unit right now. So we're installing that unit on a new roof and not vice versa.
Okay, so if it got approved, then we would purchase the unit now, but it would get installed whenever the roofing.
Correct. It has to, because it has to be manufactured, much like the rest of the items in phases 4 and 5 of the lease.
Questions? Mary Ann?
So I got confused because I don't understand all these details.
I understand.
But, you said that it wasn't cost effective to repair it, and yet we're allocating money to repair it, not replace it?
We're replacing.
Okay.
We're replacing the condenser in AHU2. The entire scope would be the condenser unit, the evaporator coil, the refrigerant lines and refrigerant. They will also provide a safer access to the 200 wing roof and the adjacent roofs in case this unit has to be repaired again. Turnkey electrical and controls, meaning whatever they discover in the process, they're gonna bid on this project, or they're gonna give us a price on this project, which they have, and then whatever they discover in the as they install electrical and controls, they will eat the expense of if they don't, I mean, that's what turnkey means, and any associated structural considerations that go along with installing that product.
So the cost of the replacement is the same as the money we have available?
Go ahead, Mark.
Correct.
So we discussed this a bit at facilities, actually an awful lot, and Jack and I especially were trying to delve into ways of trying not to expend that money for this unit that was actually broken. So the problem is we know the compressor is gone. That needs to be replaced. The unit's 20 plus years old. It's the only one that's not working. We also don't know, and there's a good chance that the coils are not working any longer. The refrigerant itself would be difficult to have. That's kind of an obsolete refrigerant. The new refrigerants require higher pressurization, which we don't think the coils could stand, even if we put in the compressor. All told, it was about a $30,000 to $35,000 gamble, or test it out to see if it would work. And so, great, if it does work, we spent $35,000. It's working, but it's actually, this one was 24 or 25 years old.
Correct.
Yeah, it was over 20 years old. I think it was 24 years old. So best case scenario, we're replacing, we don't need to replace the coils, we replace the compressor, costs us 35 grand. If we can get the parts manufactured, some of the parts needed to be manufactured because they're now obsolete. The estimate was about 35K all in, with no guarantee that the coils wouldn't blow on a 25-year-old piece of equipment. For a classroom, there are 4 or 6 of them. It's the even number of the 200 wing.
7. Yes.
7. Yeah, 4 plus 3 is 7, right? So after a lot of discussion, we just figured we should bite the bullet and, not repair a bald tire that had exceeded its tread life already.
Don.
So who does that work, or who is this go through? Is it one expense, or is it a series of pieces to different groups?
This is, EEI has put this proposal together. So they are our contractor choice
So they do the audit and then they get the job?
So they do the audit and then they get the job. The audit is, they're doing the audit of, yes. But Dawn, let me go back here. So Travis Perkins, who is our HVAC technician, okay, identified the problem with this unit late last spring when it was just really hot up there and we couldn't figure out what was going on. So it's Travis, our employee has identified the problem with this unit. He has tried to find the condenser to replace the current condenser, and also has outlined, and I probably have it in an email somewhere, outlined all of the issues that are associated with Freon and so forth, and also that we don't know, once we, as Mark eloquently said, we don't know if that coil is gonna survive. In addition, it was brought to my attention about the roof access issues that I'm concerned about the safety of my employees trying to, one way or the other, we gotta put a crane up there, they gotta get up there. So we have a choice. It's kind of a little bit of Russian roulette. But I am very confident in Travis's skill set when he tells me that there's, this is, we're kind of, it's a bit of a crapshoot.
A point of information, if I could, just in regards to the audit. I heard about this because there were individuals who were so hot they were wearing shorts and flip-flops in this classroom just because they were sweating so much. So it's not as if EEI went around and said, let's find work for us to do. It was classroom teachers and administrators saying, they're sweating. Can you fix it? Our folks went up and looked at them like, yeah, we can't fix it. And that's how EEI kind of became further involved with saying, okay, these are some of the potential solutions. Does that answer or address a little bit?
Oh, that's how they got involved. I just was trying to figure out whether any parts of this goes out to bid, or is it one, in-house, and with the people we currently work at solutions.
If we did this, my understanding, if we did this through our current lease, they are, the vendor that we chose.
Yeah, because it's with the lease, but and then before Jack, I'm gonna let Alyssa, she's been trying to ask a question for a little bit.
And that being the case, we need to remember that we have a number of projects at the high school, or the roofing project at the high school, that EEI is involved, it's already part of one of the phases of the lease. It makes sense to move forward with them doing this work as well. Because there'll be that synergy there with their contractors doing this work.
Alyssa.
2 questions. One was lightly addressed here. So something like this would not go out to bid because it's part of the lease?
Part of the lease.
Is that what I'm understanding? Okay, is that correct?
We could put it out to bid.
Okay.
We could put it out to bid. But we couldn't use the lease money. That would be something
Okay.
else. And if there's a bucket of money that's around, great. I'm not aware of it.
So
Not to be, that came off as snarky. It wasn't intended that way.
that's fine. So this $296,043.45. That is the amount that's left, the remaining unassigned dollars from the lease. Are you telling me that EEI gave you an estimate for this unit as exactly $296,000 and $296,043.45?
I am.
That is turnkey, and that they will eat anything that they are experiencing as they're going through this.
I'm just,
Listen,
I'm having a hard time with the fact that those numbers are so specific and they both happen to be exactly the same. So I'm just getting confused.
Yeah, go ahead.
With the chair's permission. So I think the turnkey piece is really essential. And I do not report back to the facilities committee every time I have to call EEI and say, can you give us a hand with this? We, for example, have a pump on one of the boilers at the high school that was grinding. And we needed to have that pump rebuilt. It's only 2 years old, but the manufacturer's warranty was 1. But what I was told from EEI was that's not how we do things. So they are gonna eat the cost of having that pump rebuilt at the high school. They don't have to do that. That manufacturer's warranty is only a year old.
So are we assuming, or are they saying that that the unit is actually gonna be more than this $296,000 and they're just gonna make up the difference on their end? Is that what?
I did not ask that question.
Can we get the specs and price this?
Excuse me.
Sir, this is a meeting held in public, not for the public. If you can't keep your comments to yourself, I'll have to ask you to leave, okay? So I think what I'm hearing is that maybe if we could get like what a unit, like ballpark would cost. Is that
Correct,
what we're-
yeah, like we don't have to go out to bid, I'm not saying that, cause then obviously that, like Mark said, that doesn't go from the lease money. But there's gotta be some sort of research avenue that we can do to get the ballpark figures so that we can be like, okay, is this, what they're telling us, I mean, cause I don't know EEI, I know you do a lot of work with EEI, and I know other board members have more communication with them, I have 0.
But it's
I
good
just
to
wanna
trust
know
and
that-
verify.
Correct, I just wanna know that what they're saying
It's a Republican thing.
is accurate. I'm just, yeah.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that's, Marianne.
This, using the lease for this replacement of a failed unit doesn't make that much sense to me. I know right now there's money in the CIP line in the budget for this year. So I'd like to see us get at least an additional quote or something to validate the cost. And then think about whether, because if we put it in the lease, it's not just that cost, it's the interest associated with it. Because once we borrow the money, then we pay interest on it over the next, I don't remember how many years at this point, but
Jack and then Don.
So, in the facilities committee, we spent about an hour knocking this thing around. I did not want to spend the money. I did not want to buy another unit for the roof. I thought we were done on the high school roof. A couple things made me decide to support and move forward with this. One, EEI has been coordinating the roof work, the HVAC work. They go hand in hand with each other. Two, this is what they do. They're experts in it. And I don't have any problem getting a budget number. If you want to do that, that makes sense. But we really haven't done that for any other lease items, quite frankly. The other thing that came up is we determined we were going to build a new high school, and we were going to try to retrofit this building, the high school, as long as possible to extend that life out. We have a 25-year unit with a number of issues that will surely fail in the next year or two, and I didn't want to dump $40,000-$50,000 into something that I do not want to spend this money at all. I don't want another unit. We spent so much money on HVAC and roofing, but at the end of the day, it's broken and it needs to be fixed. So do you want to spend $30,000 and then probably another $30,000 after that, and still have a 25-year unit, a 25-year-old unit that is full of Freon? So that's how we kind of came to the conclusion, let's move forward, because this is what we're gonna have for the next 20, 25 years for sure, it doesn't make sense to keep putting Band-Aids on the product. And I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, on any of these lease projects, we did not go out and get, I understand where you're coming from, I do. It's the exact amount, it's not the first time that we did a contract and it came to the exact number, right? But they've done good work for us, they're experts in that particular field. And if you wanna get the budget number to double check what's going on, that's, I mean, you know, that's fine. But I don't really see this. The options that we have stink, quite frankly. So,
Thank you, Jack. Alyssa and then,
Jack, I understand that it needs to be done. I'm not arguing
Yeah.
the fact of whether it needs to be repaired versus replaced. In my mind, I think it needs to be replaced. That's absolutely correct. I just think we need to ask a few questions before accepting this as is.
well, I understand completely.
Yeah.
Your concern.
Dawn and then Dr. Martin, if you want to add something.
Bree had her hand up also.
I am, you know,
Sorry,
at
Bree.
least- like Jack said, this is a group that, this is their specialty in a sense, this is their area, this is what they were brought online to do, this is what the lease is all about, is in terms of efficiency, energy, related issues, and putting us in good shape by the end of the expenditure of these monies. They should all be related to things like this. It's unfortunate that it wasn't forecast when you're looking at something that's 24 years old, and probably didn't have a life expectancy of that. So I like you, I don't debate that we need it. I was just looking at more, just trying to make things, you know, transparent, right from the beginning on these issues, so.
I'm gonna let Dr. Martin and Bree has been trying to ask a question I've not been able to see. Sorry, hon.
Just and I, first of all, I respect everyone's questions in this area, and you're doing the right thing on behalf of your constituents. I respect that, please don't misunderstand. When we sign a contract with, let's look at phase 4 and 5 of the lease, for example. Once that contract comes in, which it will hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have Primex take a look at it, we'll have our attorney take a look at it, Superintendent Krieger will sign off on it, and then after that, things roll with EEI. Meaning, I don't have to hire a crane, I don't have to order materials, I don't have to worry about dumpsters for disposal, I don't have to worry about, these are all things that are included in construction management. And when things don't go well, they fix it. Sometimes we don't even know about it. I have an owners meeting with Chris Roy and sometimes some of the other staff every Tuesday at noontime, and we go through everything that's going on with our lease project or other projects like in the the canopy, for example. We get timelines done, everything is done, on time when it is possible, when things like weather and subcontractors are not interfering. We're not just paying for a piece of equipment here. We're paying for all of that, I call it insurance, to make sure school gets opened on time. Last year, the window project was very sketchy, whether we were gonna be able to open portions of the high school on time. EEI got involved. They didn't charge us any more money when they had Granite State Glass come in with extra crews on weekends and elsewhere. They ate all of that. And that's what this type of agreement means. But again, I accept everyone's opinion and concerns.
Well, that was kind of gonna be my commentary where I know people are hesitant about the number of the total cost, but to me that was kind of like a collaboration. Like we really can't go over this, and they were like, okay, we're gonna try and fit it in, and what can we help for you? But at the same time, this doesn't even specify kind of what unit is gonna, so I would, again, just in reference range, just so I know like the cost of the unit, I just quickly Googled and it's like 2,000 for like a house unit or like 500,000 for, and I just wanna know what unit I'm referencing.
Understood.
Alyssa. No, I'm so sorry. Anna.
Sorry.
Me? Yes?
What was funnier is I was watching Lissa's face when you said that.
And-
She had no idea.
So I think what I'm gonna say is I understand and agree with both sides of this conversation. And so I'm gonna suggest that, given that the scope of this work is gonna be related to work that's gonna be done in the summer with a crane, I feel like we have time to do some trust and verify. So I'm hopeful that maybe we can ask for some of these additional pieces of information to be brought back in 2 weeks to the next board meeting, rather than taking action tonight.
Yeah, so I feel like, we have, I kind of feel the same way with Shauna, so there's two paths. One, if someone can make a motion for the amount tonight and be done with it, or like what Shauna stated, we do have time, so we could table it. We could have those questions emailed to the superintendent, so then he could get with his team and get those decisions that, like, again, like the trust and verify, I don't think that's an issue. It's in the summer. I feel like we do have some time. So that's the two paths moving forward. But Mary Ann, I think you had a question.
I'd like to ask something. So if this were to be using additional lease funds, would it be added to the phase that we have approved but haven't entered into a contract with yet? Or would it be a separate phase of its own if it's gonna be done in conjunction with phase 4? It would seem to me to make sense to put it in phase 4.
So what happens, this item has to be manufactured, right? Well, nobody's going to Home Depot and picking this up because it's a large thing. What EEI will do, and again, it's something that we're paying for, is that they will call their people and say, when can this be manufactured? They will then create a construction plan to integrate it with one of the phases in the project, wherever it makes sense from an equipment standpoint. Maybe there are other issues that with cranes that, could be duplicated, and so it's only one rental for the crane for $2,500 a day. So, it's a good question.
Because the other part of my thinking is, a few meetings ago, we discussed whether we were going to do the rest of the lease work in one phase or two phases, and the work was gonna be done over 2 summers anyhow. Given what we've seen about budgets at this point, I'm wondering if 2 smaller phases, if we wanted to go back and revisit that decision, because we had said, let's just do it, and recognizing the work would be done over 2 summers, but maybe it makes more sense to have a specific delineation. This is gonna get done in the first summer, this is gonna get done in the second summer, different contracts.
Just to add a specific piece of information about what phase, we believe it would get loaded into phase 3, where that kind of existing work was and where those funds were originally dedicated, about where it would be.
Go ahead.
I would be, because the board has made a commitment, EEI has already begun working with an electrical engineer over at Pollard and starting to map out, because that's going to be a significant piece of this. It's $4.1 million that will be taken care of at Pollard this summer. So just I caution, it's a caution.
I didn't know what locations, I didn't know what locations are.
To circle back to something that Dawn had mentioned earlier regarding this unit, this was actually, this was known. So if you remember, the original checklist was essentially the cost of an entire new building, and we elected to whittle that down to the 25 million most essential, the things that are currently broken. That's what we were hitting, not the things that we, would really like to have if they were for free. This unit wasn't broken at this stage. It is now broken. That was on the list, as well as there are a number of other units like this that are on the list that are still functioning. Most of these units, like 95%, have been replaced. There are a couple, this is a split unit, half of it's on the roof, half of it's in the building, which helps protect it. And they seem to have longer lives when they're not all just sitting the elements for 4 seasons. And there are a couple others that will be coming up that we will need to replace. One of the other things that I think sold both Jack and I is, and I do hear you, we do need to verify some additional information. One of the benefits with using the contractor that put the, other 22 units on this roof is not to have one standalone. We want them to be able to communicate and work in tandem so that if, if the 300 wing is too hot, the 200 wing is not trying to cool it off, just so that we have that kind of, interwoven, system. That being said, I understand your concerns and I agree with what Sean has stated. It would be beneficial to our peace of mind, I think, and it is part of our oversight due diligence to get that additional information. What are we talking about? Have them break it down as to the way they see the expenses rolling out from capital to manpower, et cetera. That's where I stand. I would be in favor of, waiting another meeting.
I'm gonna let Jack go and then Alyssa's gonna have final comment and then we're gonna make a decision.
As to where this should fall, and which part of the lease, it should fall with the replacement of the 200 roof.
Yeah.
Right? Those two things need to be coordinated, and that's how you determine how those pieces of the puzzle fit together.
Alyssa,
Just a question to follow up with what Marion had said earlier. I don't have the information in front of me to easily look at. You had mentioned possibly there's extra in the CIP line. Is that accurate? Does anyone know?
There's funds in the CIP line that are not targeted for projects right now.
Would it be enough to cover this?
It would be.
It would be, okay.
I'd ask you to, Alyssa, to think about the projection that we shared earlier this evening
Mhm.
and other things that we are concerned about this year in terms of where cash is coming from.
Do we have an estimate of how much is this in the CIP line?
800,000, Marion, is that what we?
Yeah, as a not allocated, it was around that.
So I think we've kind of beat this horse a little bit. So it sounds like what we're wanting to do is table this till next meeting, correct? All right, so we'll table this to next meeting. In the meantime, please get those specific questions to Mr. Krieger, so that way we can get that information, we can make a decision on this at the next meeting. All right, cool. Thank you guys for the information.
See you back December 4th with that stuff.
All right, next is overnight field trip requests.
I'll be speaking to that.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Sandy, go ahead.
as I think you are all aware by policy, any overnight field trips that our students and staff are planning require school board approval. So I am here tonight bringing a proposed field trip from the high school student council. They are looking to bring 2 advisors and 6 members of student council to the LEAD National Conference. This is an annual conference that takes place in different locations around the country. We have attended in the past. It's been a few years since we've taken a group to this specific conference. This year, the conference is taking place during February vacation. So this would not require any missed school days of the students or the staff for that matter. They plan to try to coordinate the visit to the conference with some sightseeing in Washington, D.C. as well. So their plan is to depart from Boston to fly out to D.C. on Wednesday, February 25th. With a projected return on Sunday, March 1st, which is the last day of February vacation. And you see a projected itinerary there that includes some sites that they would see while they're in DC, along with attending the conference on all of the days that it is open. This is a really large conference. I think when I looked into it, there are over 2,000 students around the country who attend this with a variety of sessions, some really great opportunities for students to both network with fellow students from around the country around leadership, but also attend some sessions that'll allow them to hear different ideas of how student councils run in other schools and other areas of the country and develop their own leadership skills. So we are looking for your approval for them to attend the trip. And I forgot to say that this is fully funded by the students, but they are planning to engage in some fundraising should this be approved. But families will cover the balance of whatever is not raised through the fundraising process that they go through.
Okay, so this is all done through fundraising,
Yep.
and whatever's left over will be covered by families. Don?
Before I make a motion to, I just want to say, I attended a bunch of those. I was on the student council nationally, and the lead thing is a huge deal. And your guest speakers, you got, like you said, opportunities for kids to be sharing ideas about how they deal with current problems in their schools that are shared issues. they take on leadership roles. Timberlane kids often end up leading some of those discussions in those groups, and they come back jazzed up to try to, and I'd love to see them come back and talk to us about,
Yeah,
you
that'd
know,
be a good idea.
what they're doing out there, you know, nationally to what we're seeing here, those types of things. I think they would jump at that opportunity as well. So, make a motion to approve.
Marion?
Is the student council 6 people or all
No.
the 6 wanna go?
I think they've identified 6 students. They have a variety of different opportunities. There are state conferences, there are, right, other more local opportunities, and I think it's offered up to students. And they have interest of 6 of the members of student council.
Don, you wanna make that motion?
Make the motion to approve the trip to the meeting conference.
Alright, Don made the motion to approve the overnight trip and Jack seconded. Any other discussion on this? Alright, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained. Alright, thank you, Sandy. Alright, IT position title change. Is that you, Justin?
Yeah, quick update. You're not gonna see any information in your packet related to that tonight. We did pull it. With regard to, typically, we would have a title change. We would bring it here to the board. This one is associated with something we're also bringing to the budget committee that's tied to additional funding requests. So I'm gonna hold the position title change until that sees its way through the budget committee and they're making determinations of that. If they approve it, we'll certainly bring it back here.
Okay, cool. So that is gonna be for another date. Okay, we're gonna go to budget committee first. Alright, next is the booster sign sponsorship.
Booster sign up. You've got an executive summary in your packet from Mr. Fantasia that I'm happy to speak to. Real simply, at the outset of the school year, he typically brings one executive summary to you with all the booster requests to hang sign sponsorships during their games. The girls' basketball booster was not part of that original presentation. They were a bit late to the game, but we've got their request now. So we're bringing it in front of the board to seek your approval to allow the regional high school girls basketball booster to hang sign sponsorships that would be up during games and games only.
Make a motion to approve the Timberlane High School girls basketball booster sign sponsorship as provided in the November 20th executive summary.
Motion made by Shauna, seconded by Alyssa. Any discussion? Very straightforward. Alright, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained, unanimous.
The president of the boosters thanks you.
Thank you so much. Then policies.
So good evening. I am going to be speaking to 4 different policies for a first read. And then following that, we do have 3 policies that I believe we have full school board attendance that we will be talking about for revocation that are connected to the passage of policy IK that the board approved at your last meeting. So just wanted to give you a kind of general introduction that all of these policies that we'll be looking at tonight are part of the series of policies that are connected to the changes to the ED 306 minimum standards for school approval. So starting off, I just referenced policy IK, which is around the awarding of credit. And so you may recall that one of the opportunities that students have, and they currently have in our district, quite frankly, is to earn high school credit through extended learning opportunities. So the policy you see in front of you, the first one that we're going to talk about, IHBH, is a revision to our current ELO policy that reflects the changes in the ED 306 rules and state law. So I just wanted to highlight and draw your attention to a couple of features of this policy because you'll see some of the same language in a policy that we're going to talk about after this. First off, in the section on purpose, you'll notice a definition of what extended learning opportunities may include at the end of that first paragraph. So just to kind of give us some context, because we've seen quite a few presentations of our own students who are currently engaging in ELOs, this policy gives a little bit more flexibility and definition to what those are. So ELOs may include, but again are not limited to, independent study, private instruction, performing groups, internships, community service, apprenticeships, remote learning, summer activities, or other opportunities approved in accordance with board policy. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that the purpose of this, the third paragraph down, speaks to ELOs being able to allow students to earn credit through the demonstration of competencies. So all of the conversation that we have been having around this shift and the ED 306 rules is very much embedded in this policy here. All ELOs that students engage in, they will go through an approval process. You can read, this is a first read, so I encourage you to read through the sections on roles and responsibilities, review the appeal process, how that works. But in essence, students, when they petition for an ELO, they'll work with our alternative learning administrator, who right now is Danielle Foley. She's been here with our students before. Something that will be new is that currently our ELOs have been awarding elective credit for our students. With this new law, we will be putting in place protocols for students to work with Mrs. Foley or another designee, other administrative leaders around curriculum to identify which competencies and courses that are required for graduation a specific ELO may align to. And if students are able to demonstrate competency through the rubrics that we've established, and there will be a review and an evaluation process, students can now earn graduation courses or credits that are course specific or content specific, as opposed to being exclusively for elective credit. So the policy gives us the guardrails. We have, I think, the bare bones of being able to shift in this direction, but there will be some work that will have to happen regarding what that process and review process looks like. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that. And I'm happy to answer any questions on this policy specifically. But again, this is a first read.
Does anybody have any questions on IHBH? Jack?
So if you had to break this down into man hours, or woman hours, doesn't matter to me. How much extra work does this become?
It's really hard to project, Jack, quite honestly.
Are we talking weeks, months, years?
So all of that will be dependent on the number of students who are looking to engage in this. Our ELO program has grown significantly just in the past 3 years that we've had an administrator in charge of this. We've been able to really leverage some community resources, develop some programs for students, develop business partnerships. All of that takes time. So we're very fortunate that we have someone who runs our evening division and can focus on this with students. As these opportunities become more vast and expansive, it's hard to know and project how many students will be interested in doing this. So yes, it will take time. They're more than likely, this will involve people beyond the alternative learning educator or administrator rather, our curriculum leaders, teachers, curriculum instruction and assessment leads who are lead teachers by department will likely be looking at some of these to evaluate whether or not certain ELOs actually meet the requirements of the competencies.
So I guess my whole point in this is, one, it's an additional workload, which
Yes.
is an additional expense.
Yes.
And we don't really have a say in this because it's the law. Am
Yes.
I correct in assuming this? And how does this affect I wanna say, the ranking of the school district, but our other school, and we all have to do it, but by percentage, how are schools that are, the Wyndhams, the Bedfords, the Hanovers, are they from a percentage standpoint, involvement in these types of programs? Is that
So what I can tell you is this is a legal requirement. All schools will be required to award credit for ELOs and have systems in place. I can't speak to currently what percentage of students are taking advantage of this or not.
Yeah.
But this is one pathway by which students in every district in our state will be able to earn credit, graduation credit.
Trying to wrap my arms around the whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I understand.
And I do look at this, Jack, as also, kind of specified opportunity for kids to pursue the path that they've identified for their career choices. So there is perhaps a shift of some balance of responsibilities to support that, but the goal would be to try to make that fit with the personnel that we have. That said, we have a person running that program now, and other schools have had larger programs than we currently entertain, and there are plenty of models out there to take a look at how they go about parsing out the work. But there is a state minimum that we would have to accept. We wouldn't have to go beyond that. So at least there are some safeguards in terms of it going beyond, the 30% of their coursework in high school. So I think it's a path we need to learn to be great at. Not one that we need to be afraid of.
Just to clarify, as I'm reading this, so we offer extended learning opportunities, and students need to apply to those programs. So just because a student is interested does not mean they necessarily automatically get that.
So there are two different types of ELOs. There are multiple types of ELOs, but I'm going to try to generalize. There are district organized ELOs. So a couple examples are that we currently have a program that's been in place for a few years around theater tech, right? So we currently have an ELO. Timberlane High School students can be part of the theater tech ELO. One of their culminating experiences is to run tech for the middle school musical. That is something that we've put together that students can opt into. So that would be a district run ELO. Other ELOs would be things that students might propose on their own and come to us with. So a student is interested in the medical field.
Is there an example?
Yes, yeah.
I love Bob Dylan's lyrics. I need to take English 1. I'm going to look at the English 1 competencies. I'm going to design a project with an English teacher with Ms. Foley's that's going to examine the lyrics, and I'm going to demonstrate performances or products that are going to meet those competencies. And I want you to award me credit for English 1.
And so that
I
would
don't need
be,
to sit in the classroom to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I don't need to be in the school.
Yeah.
I could do all that thinking and work outside of the school building. But I've got certified educators looking at my products and my performances and evaluating whether they meet competency or not.
so that's a great example of an independent study, right, that a student could engage in. They could also connect with a member of the community. And through business partnerships that we have, we've done things with Core Pediatrics, we've done things with occupational therapy offices. We have a partnership with Plastow Fire. They've come. We have the Junior Explorers program for Sandown Police. So those are dependent not only on our own staff to review and vet against our competencies, but those require really the cooperation and collaboration of community members who have expertise in their field. And so that's really the coordination and where a lot of the time will come from is if a student comes to us and say, I have a high level of interest in this profession. I found someone who works professionally in the community who's willing to work with me. Those types of proposals are the ones that are really going to require a higher level of oversight because we're dependent on the information we're going to hear back from the supervisors, and we will need a certified educator to evaluate the final products of that work and things like that. So, yep.
Jack.
Would a trade union apprenticeship program qualify?
Yes.
Is that?
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any more questions on this policy? Someone will make a motion to approve it for first read.
So moved.
All right, Sean, was it? It was Bree. Bree made the motion to approve IHBH for first read. Do I have a second? Second by Dawn. Any other discussion? All's in favor? Unanimous. Moving on.
Okay. The next policy you will note has very similar language to the ELO policy. So I'm going to try to highlight just a couple slight differences in this policy. So this is policy IHBI, which is Alternative Learning Programs and Individual Plans. So in spirit, this policy aims to do all of the same things we just talked about for ELOs. So in the purpose, if we look at, I'm going to actually skip to the second paragraph to just give you some context and then go back. But in that second paragraph of purpose, you'll see that definition. If I were to take that paragraph from the ELO policy that we just looked at and put it side by side, that language is identical to what ELOs may include, with the addition of, and I just want to note that we saw that independent study is listed twice, so we'll strike one of those. But this can constitute independent study, ELOs, which are now part of this, private instruction, performing groups, internships, community service, apprenticeships, remote learning, or other opportunities. This list is verbatim to the list in ELOs, with the exception of ELOs can take place in the summer. Okay, so in essence, this policy is getting at the same avenues or pathways for students to receive credit and to demonstrate competency. In the very first paragraph, purpose, the purpose of alternative learning plans, which are very similar to ELOs, is that these are designed to address the needs of individual students or groups that might be different from the needs of the general student population. It includes delivery of learning opportunities through individualization, personalization, differentiation. But really, these are designed for students who may be at risk of dropping out of school through the very traditional pathway that we offer, or students who require a more rigorous course of study than what we might offer. Otherwise, the intent of this, the review process, the approval process is almost verbatim to the ELOs, right? So it's a separate policy. They are mutually supportive. They're very, very similar. Something that's unique in this policy is on, just let me find the page for you. This policy has a section that identifies cost. Thank you.
A purpose.
Thank you. Yes, it's in the same paragraph I was just looking at. So I wanted to just draw your attention to that. The ELO policy does not have a disclaimer in there around cost. At policy committee, and Paul and Dawn were there as well, they can chime in. We had conversation about that. That $4,000 is not something that came from the New Hampshire School Boards Association. We put that $4,000 in because the conversation at policy committee was, what could these costs potentially entail? And we had conversation about, well, what is the cost if we had to send a student to a career technical program that is not Salem or Pinkerton? So we did some research after policy committee, and we identified that currently the average cost of sending a student to a CTE program is right around $4,000. So because policy committee identified that as a barometer, and that was the cost, we put $4,000 in there. That is up for discussion for you all of what that, threshold would be as a board for when you would want it to come to you. If you want it to be lower, we can certainly, do that, but that's just a placeholder right now for conversation. So.
Mark and then Marianne.
If I could ask the board to look at that and think about that 4,000, that jumped out to me. So my understanding is that the state is now requiring up to 25% of credits be able to fall under this umbrella. Now,
I want to clarify with that because I think there might be a misunderstanding around that. The restriction around we're required to accept up to a third, that is specific to the Learn Everywhere programs, which are approved by the State Board of Ed. There are no limits on alternative learning plan credits, on ELO credits, on alternative pathways. Students could, in theory, earn all of their credits through these different pathways. What's different is that we have the authority to approve or deny whether or not we believe these programs meet our expectations and for competency. Whereas with Learn Everywhere, we have no oversight whatsoever of that. We're required to just accept them at face value. That's the difference. So yeah, the third requirement is for Learn Everywhere. Students have no limits on these.
in that,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no,
Sorry, finish.
in that case, my concern has been leveled a little bit from that.
Sure.
The thought of your students saying, hey, I want to take, psychology, and so I want therapeutic animals, and that requires me to ride a horse in brain to disabled children. That's going to be $1,000 or $4,000. I see this potentially as being a slippery slope in adding an additional $4,000, up to $4,000 before it comes to us, price tag on credits for one course. I'm hesitant that may be the best expenditure of our very limited funds.
Well, before Marianne chimes in, does Paul or Dawn on policy committee want to talk about that number? You want to give any
Came to us as a blank. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like blank.
We're looking at trying to be realistic about, what like things are costing.
Right.
And so you can anticipate the impact of that. We have an expectation of having a program, that allows for this type of stuff. You can put some limits on what you can do at a certain time. You have some freedoms to try to manage this, but you know, that's the work.
And I didn't really know what some of these opportunities do cost. So that was after the research that was done, but we were totally open. It could be $2,000, it could be $1,500, it could be 10. I mean, we didn't really know at all. They just said, we recommend this language, and then it was like blank, you guys figure it out.
And again, I wouldn't want us to be inundated every single week with, 4 or 5 new requests. But if there are 4 or 5 new requests every week over a school year, and we only get the ones over $4,000, that's potentially a really large expenditure. And without knowing exactly whom would be overseeing that, I don't. Thank you. This is why we do first reads. Mumbling.
What was the equivalent though? Remember you were looking at,
That $4,000 is the equivalent
Yeah, and you said
of a
something-
CTE course.
yeah, which they can,
So that was the measure that we left policy, so that's why the 4,000 is in there.
In that CTE for the quarter. That CT for that $4,000, is that spread out over the school year? Is that the cost for the school year?
Yes.
The course, whereas this would be not over the school year. This would be potentially,
It could be a full year experience.
or it could be a quarter year experience.
It could be a semester long.
Semester, okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Mary and then Bree.
So is the difference between the ELO policy and the alternative learning plan policy? The alternative learning plan is the district identifies students who need a different plan.
Yes.
And have some say in what that plan looks like, right? So that's why there's some responsibility to perhaps fund some of the costs. So if the student came forth with a proposal, it's an ELO unless they are identified as by the district as needing an alternative.
Being in danger of failure through their current avenues that we're providing, or students who might need more than what they're currently getting.
Yeah, that second one is kind of hard because
It is.
I want more because I want different.
Yes,
Or I
no,
want
absolutely.
more, you know,
It's a very fair point.
That's where I see a difference. And are both of these at the high school level only, or is it all
So,
students?
yes,
well?
we have the option, but not the requirement to provide these to middle schools, students, but it's optional. Districts can choose to run an ELO program at the middle level. And if we do, it would follow the same policy guidance. Because another change in the 8306s is that there are no age restrictions on when students can earn credit. So technically, middle school students could engage in learning opportunities if they meet high school standards and receive credit.
Because I didn't see anything in the policy that was specifically gearing it to a level except
Yeah, I think embedded in this is that these policies are designed to identify the requirements around pathways to earn credit. And by definition, credit is associated with high school programming, right, and graduation, so.
Bree and then Alyssa.
So to clarify that, because we are kind of using our CPT as a CTE, thank you. As our benchmark, so that is a full year and that is one course? Is that
The
correct?
average, looking at the different sending schools that we send to, there was one that was slightly higher, one that was a little bit lower, we took the average.
And so I might offer language that stipulates like 2,000 for half the year or 4,000 annual.
And again, the 4,000 was something that was identified as something we could look at. That's why it's here. This is not a recommendation of the district that it should be $4,000. It's quite honestly entirely up to this board what you want that number to be. So
a legit thing, what you just said, that's kind of what we're gonna decide.
Alyssa.
2,000.
I like that idea. Personally, sorry, that wasn't my question, but I do like that idea of putting that stipulation of
Thank you for
the yearly expenditure. That would kind of address the problems that Mark was addressing earlier. Just a clarifying question with the ELOs. I'm trying to wrap my brain around the difference between the ELO and this. So when they were here months ago, having some of the ELO kids here presenting what they were doing, I think there was a kid that was doing flight training or some sort of flying. So that expenditure of those flight classes, that was on them, on the student?
I can't say that for certain.
Or-
I would assume so,
Okay,
but I don't have that information to be able to verify that.
okay.
I don't know.
So like, well, so I guess my question was, were we paying for flight school, or was the child going to flight school and then using that experience to then qualify as the ELO?
I believe
Okay,
that,
yeah.
I believe that is the case.
So there's no cost, cause like on this, there's a cost, but then on the previous one, there was not a cost.
Because
In the
they
future, there could be.
need the alternative.
Correct,
in order
I
to
just
be
wanna clarify
successful.
that, okay. Okay, thank you.
So does someone wanna make a motion to approve IHBI for a first read with the stipulation that the committee members take back kind of what we talked about the stipulation with the monies to your committee and
Yeah, if anybody had any ideas, just shoot it to us and
Okay.
on my part, but yeah.
So moved. All right, Shauna made the motion. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mark. Any discussion, Mary Ann? And Jack?
Could it just say special expenditures? Not beyond anything?
We don't want every single one of them
I
coming
was
to
gonna
us.
say that
I'm
would open us
sorry?
up.
We don't want every single one of them coming to us. There's a
Yeah.
registration fee to have
There's a $50 fee.
HIPAA training to work at Parkland Hospital. We don't want that coming through
Yeah.
every single week. I mean, that's,
There's
You
gotta
don't
be
you don't wanna
something
make
there.
it so strict that it absolutely bogs down the process. Jack?
Could you have a pool of money designated in a budget line for this with a cap? Right,
no, spot on, dude.
Not
with the cap, and maybe you have to pre-register a quarter in advance, so you can budget that out. I mean, there's gotta be a combination of applying with a pool of money, with a cap on the amount.
It's actually a really good idea.
I like that idea too.
Jesus.
I didn't say I liked it.
Well, I wasn't gonna get that from you anyway.
All right, we got two more policies to get through. Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion on this one? All right, all those in favor?
Is this just a first
First
read?
read. Just a first read.
I want.
All right, all those opposed, abstain, unanimous. Next.
Okay. Policy IJ is on instructional materials. So something that is new in the ED 306 rules. There are some language changes to this overall that I encourage you to read through. But specifically, the largest change that is now in the legislation is at the end of the policy under the instructional resources plan. So something that is new is that districts are now required to maintain a written plan for the ongoing development, organization, acquisition, maintenance, replacement, and updating of curriculum and learning resources. And that plan will be presented annually, I take that back, every third year to the school board no later than October 15th, and beginning in 2026. So that is something new. That is something that we've already started working on. But in essence, that's the largest change to this policy.
Make a motion to accept for first read policy IJ instructional materials.
First, a motion to have second. Second by Alyssa. Any other discussion? Yeah,
Is there
three and then
anything that
Shauna.
we're recommending that they take back to policy related to this? As a board, excuse me, I'm looking at Sandy, so sorry. As a board, yes, okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know if it made sense to do first, adoption. Okay.
I just wanna know, cause number 6 is our current. Within the last 3 years, 5 years, year, I would just like that clarified.
Say that again, what did you say?
Number
Under
6
number
says our
6.
current, what is current? Last year,
Oh,
2 years,
okay.
5 years.
Yep.
In the medical world, 5 years. So I just want to know.
Fair. Okay. All right, motion's been made and second. Any other discussion on this one? All right, all those in favor? Opposed, and abstained. All right, moving on.
Okay, thank you. This next policy is connected to policy IK that we looked at around high school credits and that you approved last meeting. This is around high school graduation requirements. So if you may remember, I'm going to take you back to school board meetings when I put together an overview for you all of some of the high-level changes to the 8306 rules. I gave you a chart that gives you an overview of the state minimum standards, the changes that have been made by content area. Social studies, for example, had some significant shifts, math, some other content areas as well. So this policy is designed around those changes. And you'll see that some of the language has become a little bit more generalized. So you will not see in our current policy, you'll notice these charts that outline our current diploma tracks and what those credit requirements are, course requirements, et cetera. In the new policy, you will not see those charts. They will exist, but they're going to live in the program of studies, which you all will see for a first read at your first meeting in December, and that you will vote on and approve. So you will vote on that annually. So a couple of things. This policy provides districts options to award different diploma tracks that carry different minimum credit weights. Okay, so a couple things to highlight for you is that we, by choice, as a high school, as a district, have always awarded, since my time here, Mr. Woodworth can probably speak to this, but at least 19 years, we have had 3 different diploma tracks. And so those being the standard diploma, the technical diploma, and the scholastic diploma. In our work at the high school, that was a conversation that we had. It is a decision that we made that we will continue to award 3 different tracks of diplomas. So that's one thing to highlight for you. Another thing to highlight is that also by choice, we have chosen, and we have been for many years, to exceed the minimum graduation requirements that are set by the state. So I'll remind you that the state minimum standards are currently 20 credits for graduation. That is not changing in the 8306 changes. What's changing is the breakdown of where those credits need to come from. We, again, by choice, because it's a value judgment around our philosophy of what we believe our students require to be well prepared to go out into the world and be successful in whatever career, college path that they choose, that we are going to exceed the state requirements of 20. And I will also tell you that we, as a district, developed a survey that we sent around statewide to different regions and high schools. We had 18 districts respond to this. Of those 18, every single one of them is also choosing to exceed the state minimum standards. That's why they are called minimum standards. So we are not alone. We are somewhere right around the middle of what those requirements may be. If you'd like more information about that, I'm happy to bring that back next month in a summary for you to look at what those other districts are planning to do. So all that said, I just wanted to draw your attention to a few things because you'll notice some similar language. In section A around graduation and diploma requirements, you'll see our 3 options. Those are our current diploma tracks, so standard, technical, and scholastic. Each of those diplomas carries different credits. So the standard diploma for any student attending Timberlane, if they go with the minimum track, they will be expected to earn 23 credits. And the way that will work, so including of those 23, those listed in section C below. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to ask you to move to section C, which is on the following page. And when you look at section C, you will see the chart that I presented to you 2 meetings ago that outlines what the state minimum standards are. Okay. So of those 23, 20 of them will be earned through the state minimum standards. So now I'm going to go back to section A. So they'll get 20 of those. Also, they have to complete all additional requirements in section E below. Section E states that in addition to these credits, students are required by law, and this is not new, we've been doing this for I think 4 years now, to pass with a passing grade of 70%, the 128 question civics and naturalization exam, developed by the 2020 U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services. It's a very specific year, the number of questions. This test is administered, it will be this year, through the state assessment platform. All students, not to earn credit, but to graduate, are required to earn a 70% on this test. They can take it as many times as necessary. There are no credits that are awarded, but if they fail this, they cannot receive a diploma in the state of New Hampshire. In addition to that, they're required to receive a passing grade on a local competency assessment around civics. We also administer that. We've been doing this for many years. That's required for graduation. Going back to the introduction, so it is Section A, Section E, and then on top of that, any other requirements that are in the program of studies. So when you see the program of studies, you will see what our expectations are, where those additional credits come from. Okay, so for all of these different diploma tracks, those are the requirements. The technical diploma will be slightly different from the standard. That will entail students enrolling in CTE courses, and there will be different numbers of elective credits associated with that. To receive a technical diploma, that is 24 credits. That we are looking at. And then for a scholastic diploma, which also has additional requirements in there, that number is 26. So those are our numbers. Beyond that and beyond the charts, there is some language in there around early graduation. Beyond that, also the final two things is that there is a section in here for students who are identified for special education. Students, if their IEP team determines that they likely will not be on a path to achieve a standard or technical or scholastic diploma through our requirements, this is an opportunity for those students to earn and receive a certificate of attendance for their work at Timberlane. And so there's language around what that looks like, how students can participate in graduation. And so it's an opportunity for students who meet those requirements through their IEP determination to earn a certificate. And then lastly, the last requirement for high school graduation, and this is again by law, we are required to inform all students of their eligibility to complete the FAFSA application as they are applying to college. And so we've been meeting that requirement for many years. Our counseling department annually informs families and students of this in the early fall as they enter into their senior year. So those are the different requirements for graduation. Again, I'm happy to answer questions, and you will be seeing the specificity when you see the program of studies.
Okay.
So,
Marian. I have one question about the FAFSA section. The second to last paragraph says, upon request of the student or somebody authorized to act on behalf of the student, the superintendent has to provide a physical or digital copy of the student's completed FAFSA.
that seems like a violation of FERPA.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but if you use Naviance, I know
Yes.
they probably, I don't think that's there. I don't remember, but that seems very odd.
Is that language from the verbatim from the state?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, this is just a first read. That was a very, very long policy. So is there any, again, just a first read? Anybody? Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Would you, Sandy, be able to look into that? Because that struck me as well.
Sure.
I was gonna zip you an email. That just seems wrong in a couple different levels.
Okay, I'm happy to.
I haven't engaged in any of that yet.
Alright, someone make a motion.
Thank you.
Alright, again, it's just a first read, but could someone make a motion?
Motion to accept IHBI.
You mean
Sorry.
IKF.
Yes, IKF, sorry. High school graduation requirements.
Alright, motion made by Mark, do I have a second? Second by Dawn, any other discussion? Again, just a first read, please shoot Sandy any emails, and then also Paul and Dawn if they need to take anything to the committee meeting. Alright, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained. Everybody agrees. And all of us are here, so I think we get to revoke these policies.
You can.
Sweet.
And just as a reminder, so policy IK, which you voted and approved last meeting, now embeds language that speaks to interdisciplinary credits, which is our current policy IKAA, ILBAA, high school graduation competencies, and IMBC, alternative credit options. So with the adoption of IK, the recommendation is that districts revoke these three policies because they are no longer in compliance with the 8306 rules, and we have a policy now on the books that addresses all of these things. So
So all of us are here. We've done this before. The notice was provided on October 16th. Does someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to repeal policies IKAA, ILBAA, and IMBC.
Shauna made the motion. Who seconded that? Mary Ann seconded that. Any discussion? Again, these policies are obsolete. We have other ones that are more up to date and fulfill these. All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstain. All right. Thank you, Sandy. That was a lot. Full day kindergarten.
Thank you.
That was a lot. Thank you.
Full day kindergarten. This is the third consecutive meeting in a row that this agenda item's been here. The first meeting, I presented you the methodology that we would get to calculate a cost of moving in that direction and also descriptions of our current model. Last meeting, I was able to not only give you the methodology, but those numbers. We calculated that new cost for kindergarten if the district moves there at $271,000. Last meeting, the board charged me with bringing a couple pieces of information back this evening. The first is, what is the viable pathway there? The viable pathway there is through a warrant article written by the school board that would seek to change the articles of agreement. It would be a single article that would include also the new cost of $271,000. It would be placed by the school board on the warrant and would need a 3/5 majority to pass. That is your one singular viable pathway to put it in front of the voters. You also asked for the tax impact per town around that number. So looking at this current fiscal year, because it's the numbers we have, and if we had full day kindergarten, and if that cost this year was $271,000 extra dollars, we'd be looking at an estimated educational tax impact in Atkinson of 4 cents, Danville 8 cents, Plastow 4 cents, and Sandown 7 cents. The other two things I'll share with Full Day K is I also gave the same presentation to members of the budget committee. Since giving that to them, they're asking to place Full Day Kindergarten on the agenda at the next BudCom meeting. We're gonna do that, and I'm gonna run them through live and in person the same presentation that you received 2 weeks ago, identifying the methodology for that cost. That'll be Monday evening.
Any questions?
Would the board like me to work with the attorney to draft the language for the warrant? So when we come back on December 4th, you could actually look at the text of that language, see how it would be appropriated to cost, and see how it would read out and where that cost figure would show up.
Yes, please. Yes, if you would, please. Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to
No,
add?
that was all you asked for, unless you needed other things for next meeting as well.
Does that need to be a formal action item or?
No, we can just
Okay,
charge them for that, that's fine. All right, next up is just our 2026 warrant presentations. Did we change that one that we put or did we not make a
Nope.
decision yet?
You haven't made a decision yet.
Okay.
You discussed Article 12, which I think is the first thing I'd want to remind you of. And you asked me to bring back some information specific to that. So let's talk through those pieces. In terms of what the district has done, the last 4 years, when it had its 2.5% ability to retain funds, it retained $500,000 in each of those years. It never expended a dollar of those 4 years of taking or assuming those cash influx. And also, it was about 1/3 of the total that the board could have retained. So each year you had about $1.5 million you could retain, you chose to retain $500,000. So that's the past history of the fund retention. Also wanted to remind you that when we were working with DRA, we sought input from the petitioners that put the warrant in front of voters to rescind it anyway. And those petitioners were writing on our behalf, letting them know, the DRA know, that their intent was not to return to 0%, which is where the district sits now, but to revert back to the 2.5%. So I share that as information for you guys to engage, to get a number on Article 12 for the public to consider.
I'm kind of feeling since the intent was to go back to 2.5%, I feel like we should continue with the 2.5% on this, because that was what the voters had stated that they wanted. But Bree?
Well, if historically it's been 500,000 and we've never had to touch it, why not just make it 500,000? It has to be.
Does it have to be a percentage?
Can't you just say not to exceed 500,000?
I think it has to be a percentage. But we can look into it.
Maria, do you by chance know? For the fund balance retention, does it have to be listed as a percentage or can it be listed as a dollar amount?
It has to be a percentage. 1.5?
I like that.
And just as a reminder, that we can balance if whatever number is, if it doesn't get used, which in our district, as far as I know, has never been used, goes back to taxpayers.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Certainly wouldn't want to have it be more than 2.5%. But I think with some of the uncertainties that we're facing, for example, transportation, if nothing else.
Literally.
We have another, heat, unit on the roof go out. That's an extra 300,000 right there. We know that several of them are going to go in the next couple of years. There are just a lot of uncertainties. I would be afraid of getting caught in, because we have saved too little. I think going back to 2.5, which was the intention of the writers of this, I may not have agreed with it then, may not agree with it now, but the voters kind of spoke and they agreed with that intention. Maybe we should respect that.
No, go for it.
As we know, the budget has gone up, so I don't think we need to stay at the same percentage, because what we are retaining is still a little higher than the announcement, if that makes sense.
Doesn't, I'm not following.
Can you speak just a bit?
So in, let's say the total budget was 70,000, so 5% of that, 3.5. But now it's 90,000.
90 million.
90 million.
Oh, well, whatever,
Yeah.
yes, 90.
Sorry, I was trying to follow.
Then 2.5% is 4.5, so 5%, whatever. I'm just saying that numbers are higher, so we can save less and still have a good chunk of money, is what I'm saying.
We don't have to make a decision tonight. If you all still want to chew on it, that's fine. Marianne?
Yeah, I'd like to see it either 2% or less. 2% would be about the same dollar figure as Bree was saying, from 75 million to 90 million. It's about the same amount of money, 1.8 million possible retention. So I think that's the highest I'd like to see it.
Okay.
If I may.
Yep, Maria.
Just keep in mind that the 5% is not on the budget amount, it's actually on the tax assessment. So it's the budget amount minus the expected revenues. So for example, in 2026, the 5% will be on 70 million, not on 82 million.
It'll be on 70, not 82.
Correct.
So that'd be 350,000.
So if we had the ability to retain this year, it will be 3.5 million. Well, the 5% will be 3.5 million. Because it's based on the apportionment, not on the.
So it'll be based on the 90, so, okay.
So the 5% of 70 million is 3.5 million.
Okay. Yeah, Jack.
So I'm at 2.5, I understand what you're trying to do, Bree, but I'm at 2.5% because it goes back to the taxpayers if we don't use it, and we only use it in the case of an emergency. And I'd hate to fall short in case of an emergency. And I think what would the difference be between, say, 2 and 2.5%, what we talking dollars and cents wise? I don't think it's very, I'm just thinking of the safety net.
450.
Maria's shaking her head.
Yeah.
350,000.
And it's, for me, it's the purpose of doing it and the fact that if it doesn't serve the purpose, it goes back to the taxpayers. So it kind of becomes moot.
I'm seeing people are not really wanna make a decision tonight, that's
Yeah,
totally
no.
fine. Someone can make a motion, one of the two.
I wouldn't mind chewing on it for another
That's
meeting.
fine.
I mean, Jack, I agree with you. My concern, and that's where I want it to go. It may be more palatable and easier for people to vote on 2% rather than 2.5. I don't know why, but emotionally that seems like an easier pill. It puts us at greater risk. I agree.
I'm gonna say some stuff tonight about things that we should be doing because of the dynamics right now, and I appreciate that too. It's crazy time.
You could always have a special meeting if it went over that amount and, try and have the town vote to approve it. There's a method, a way to go beyond that amount if you got stuck. So if you limited that, the risk isn't like total, it could delay the availability of funds.
Well, yeah, but having to do a special meeting and everything like that, that's a
I know, I'm just saying.
that's a whole other chunk of change.
What's an expense?
With the history you have.
Costs money. Alright, we got time, so we'll look at this next meeting, but I don't think anything else has changed on the other warrant articles. As union agreements start coming through and everything else, once we approve or do whatever with our default budget, then it'll become on one of these things, but again, it'll be a standing thing through this. So, administrative report.
Thank you. So an update from our Marvelous Music program is, it is an honor and quite a prestigious event to be hosting a audition level New Hampshire Association of Choral Directors a festival. We'll be doing that Friday, January 23rd. Also, we have our New Hampshire String Fest on March 28th. Mr. Schweiss is also inaugural year of the Rockingham Honors Music Festival, which will be Wednesday, February 11th. So kind of a regional music festival here at Timberlane. Tuba Christmas is Saturday, December 20th at 2:00, followed by the Tam's Holiday concert featuring the jazz and concert bands. And in honor of my low brass teacher, who passed most recently from UNH, I will be playing euphonium in the Tuba Christmas concert this year. So I apologize ahead of time for all the notes I leave on the stage. In the athletic department, we don't talk about Mr. Fantasia very often, and we should. He's a very humble man. He has been asked by the National Association of Athletic Directors to do a presentation at their premier conference in Florida. They have a student, the Power of the Student segment of the conference, and he is going to do a presentation on how to lead, energize, and inspire. He was solicited by his peers to participate in that. And I just think it's a great thing, and I'm sure he will discuss humility, which is probably his greatest asset. As Cameron made note, our winter sports season has begun, and everybody's in training, skiing. The ski club or the ski team has even begun on dry land, their dry training, and so that's all great moving forward. In the world of facilities, our grounds update, the varsity baseball diamond renovation is complete. It was quite a process to watch. It looks like Fenway Park out there. It's quite lovely. Looking forward to the spring. Also, the JV and middle school and JV baseball field, middle school, and practice fields, and the softball practice field, the infield skinning is about 95% complete. Excuse me, I'm getting tired. We're playing beat the clock with the weather right now to try to get that complete before it's too frozen. Grass field maintenance is also complete. Aeration, overseeding, fertilization, etc. Our guys are out removing leaves all over the district, and we are prepared for the white stuff as well. Snow. The other update from facilities, EEI has informed us that the contract for phase 4 and 5, as I mentioned before, the lease should be complete on their end in the next week or so. Warren Street Architects, the architect that we've engaged for the bathroom renovation project, has informed me that they will share initial thoughts and findings and perhaps a first concept plan for us to review and discuss with them sometime prior to Thanksgiving. So we look forward to seeing that. Thanks to Sarah Vera, our facilities manager, we found the Timberlane facilities management plan. This is a requirement of the New Hampshire Department of Education. That plan is 80% complete, and the gentleman on our facilities maintenance team, we're going to be taking that apart next Tuesday, not this coming Wednesday, but the Wednesday after Thanksgiving, to get all of the data to complete that plan. The superintendent followed through with the board's request from the previous board meeting to assess the feasibility of adding a field in the back of the secondary campus. I began digging into board meeting minutes and so forth in regards to the solar project. I referenced the construction meeting of October 23rd, 2023, where Mike Davey from EEI introduced a civil engineer who discussed the regional campus solar project. To paraphrase, there's 1 acre of usable space in that back portion of the property that is currently cleared that does not flood. Lost my place, excuse me. And so I went to our partners at EEI. I asked, can you retrieve this plan for me, because I can't seem to find it? And with the help of our EEI partners, and as the superintendent instructed, I called Busby Construction and sent them the aerial view of where the solar project was. There was discussion of the solar project. It has all the wetlands outlined. And after consulting with our grounds manager, we kind of circled an area that is might be possible to clear. We're awaiting further information from Busby regarding the feasibility of this idea. And if in fact, we would have to engage another civil engineer in order to take a look at that. Also, it should be noted that field that is cleared, that is currently in use for middle school field hockey and soccer, though it is not a regulation size field. And stay tuned for the date. We will be having a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Atkinson Academy Belfry, and be ringing the bell for the first time, which our partners at EEI again have been able to arrange so that we can actually ring the bell from the first floor, and so that a child can ring that bell on a daily basis, which would be pretty cool.
Do we have a date for that ribbon cutting?
Nope, not yet. More to come.
There'll be a ribbon and big scissors.
Not sharp, but
Scissors.
it's scissors.
Make sure they're safety scissors.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Question for you.
Sure.
The 1 acre that you had referred to that we were looking at is currently being used informally by 2 other teams?
By the middle school, yes.
Cool. So no engineering should probably be required then, since it's currently in use.
One acre, we would need 2 acres for a regulation size field.
Okay, understood.
Next, I only have one primary item. So,
Geez, Sandy, you had nothing to contribute tonight.
No, as I think you all know, a lot of our work has been devoted to trying to digest and implement a lot of these changes that are coming down the pike. So, a question that came up at the last meeting, and you asked again tonight, Mr. Sapia, around potential costs, around planning, around informing families, training staff. So just wanted to let the board know formally that we've been engaging in those conversations with the high school administrative team. We will be meeting more formally next week and following that for ongoing planning to develop a formalized rollout plan that will include opportunities for additional training, More than likely, some of that will be on our January Professional Development Day, and other opportunities after that, but that'll be our first real launch at the high school to re-engage around some of this. And it'll also include opportunities for parent informational nights, and staff, student training around some of these changes. So we will keep you posted once that is finalized, but I just wanted to let you know that that work is happening, so.
Thank you, Justin.
I have 9 things for you guys, but I'm gonna scrap 8 of them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Because none of it's time sensitive, but I do want to highlight this. Brian Nickel is a high school teacher with us. He was selected as the 2025 James Madison Memorial Fellowship.
Okay.
Let me tell you how big of a deal this is. This is an application initiated by the person. One individual is selected per state. There are 50 teachers nationally that were selected from this. Brian is the teacher from New Hampshire. It is such a cool experience. So he is going to be able, through this fellowship, go to a master's program where he's going to achieve a master's in American history with a concentration in constitutional studies. And he's going to be sharing his work across the nation. So he also gets to go to a summer institute with this group of 50 people in Washington, D.C. So this is an individual who's teaching our kids, who's going to continue to kind of refine his own learning and bring all of that stuff back here. So really congratulations to Brian. We really love his initiative. He put himself out there to do that. And like Angelo, who's going to represent Timberlane at a national conference at that ask, this gentleman will be a Timberlane representative at a national conference of a fairly prestigious award. So congratulations to Brian and the high school social studies department over there. It's really awesome.
Brian is a Timberlane graduate.
Yep.
Who was a great student and a great athlete who had a very successful career, was a New England champion, a wrestler. He's a coach of football and wrestling for us and loves social studies. So he's a prize. He's a great man and so proud of him.
All right, moving on to personnel report. We do have 2 professional nominations.
Make a motion to accept the professional nomination of Jared Morrison, teacher at Timberlane Regional High School, and Greg Pentazis, teacher at Pollard Elementary School, although I believe that might be an error. I think it's school counselor. Well, because I'm looking at the different things. So let me rephrase, Linda. Thank you. Make a motion to accept the professional nomination of Jared Morrison, teacher at the high school, and Gregory Pentazis, school counselor at Pollard Elementary.
I have a motion by Shauna. Do I have a second? Seconded by Bree. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstain. All right, thanks. Committee reports. Start with Jack.
I'll let Mark handle most of the facilities
All right.
stuff. But the meeting was consumed by that HVAC thing. I do, if Dr. Martin, if you could come back, and you said that we did some work on the academy, in the academy,
I'm sorry, we did some what work?
tile.
Correct.
Replacement floor.
Flooring, yes.
At your convenience, can you just come back to me? I got Electrolux stuck in my head, and I know that's a vacuum cleaner. I just would wanna understand how big of a project that was and what that total
So are you
cost was.
wanting
You don't
it-
have to give it to
Are
me.
you wanting it brought to facilities or?
Huh?
Are you wanting her to bring that back to facilities?
No,
or
no, no,
here?
no, 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 no. Yeah, and under the baseball fields, I just like to say, it looks unbelievable. It looks fantastic. Go
What
ahead.
is it that you're asking for regarding?
So we did a project, at least she brought it, we were short on time, remember? And at the end, it was brought up that we replaced tiles at the academy. And I just was wondering the scale and scope of the work.
Gotcha.
So, it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I can provide you, Madam Chair, I can
Yeah, go
provide you with the specifics of that. It was a very small project. We were experimenting with a particular material in the hallway that everyone is speaking highly of from a number of ways, but I can certainly get through the specifics.
Yeah,
They were
thank you.
small dollars.
Thank you. The other thing is, in light of the current budgetary situation and what we have coming up, I appreciate all the due diligence that's been done on that relief field. And the fact that I brought it up, I just don't think that this is the appropriate time to move forward on. I think we've gotta be strategic about how we move forward on the budget. And as much as one person in this room said it's the right thing to do, and I believe it's the right thing to do, I just think right now
Okay.
So.
Don?
Nothing new.
Thank you. Just budget committee's actively meeting. Our next meeting is on Monday.
Monday the 24th, and the main objective for that meeting is to put dollars next to those buckets we did with them the last meeting.
All right, Mark.
We've beat facilities to the ground, had some fairly productive union negotiations where we are, I am now optimistic, no longer cautiously optimistic.
Love that. Shauna?
So Wellness Committee met yesterday for the first time this year, so at our, it's like our reorganization meetings, we meet a minimum of 3 times a year, but also as part of our goals, we are required to read our mission that we review and vote on. So I just want to share that here with everybody about the Wellness Committee. So the Timberlane Regional School District Wellness Committee will work collaboratively to make recommendations in order to promote healthy environments in the communities. Recommendations, guidelines, and opportunities for the promotion of healthy living fall into the following categories: food and nutrition, physical activity and play, mindfulness, emotional well-being, and drug awareness. The Wellness Committee will review existing policies and practices and develop consistent guidelines for healthy living for students and staff in all of our schools and our communities. The Timberlane Regional School District Wellness Committee will meet at least 3 times during the 2025-2026 school year to discuss ways to support the wellness mission. Representation from each school, parents, the SAU, and our community will examine current district policies and practices. The committee will facilitate the communication of those policies and procedures in place and make recommendations to guide their implementation at each building and throughout the communities. So that being said, we did discuss about putting some information out through the community board that's been more visible lately for folks to be able to find information. And a request is that if there is a parent in the community that is interested in joining us at the Wellness Committee, we have our next meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday, January 14th, 4 p.m. here at SAU, and you can reach out to myself or to Ginger Dreschel.
Thank you. Breathe.
Wellness. And then I had CIP. With Jackie had kind of like a jumpstart meeting and we're looking again in the future. Gathering information with Doc Martin, so thank you in the future. And our next meeting is gonna be January 12th, so that's gonna be a busy week. And
February 9th?
February 9th, sorry, it's on my calendar.
That's okay.
Yep, I see one February 9th as well. So our next meeting is February 9th.
Thank you. I needed a little more time.
Because we gave you a big to-do list. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Melissa?
No more updates.
Paul?
No new updates.
Marianne?
Just the curriculum meeting meets again on Wednesday, December 3rd. Nothing new there.
All right, any other business? Cool. Do we have any more delegates and individuals that wish to speak? 1 or 2?
John Down, just one.
Come on up. 3 minutes.
Just as a rebuttal from earlier, the comments about the audit, there were 10 positions, people that were removed last year. I'm not going over that. That's serious and it's not to be taken lightly. I understand that. Certain positions were eliminated to create efficiency and streamline things that were done. No deep cuts were made to any programs or any curriculum or anything with the cuts that were made. We went in at 81.9 on the budget, we ended at 82 million something. we're gonna wind up with $92 million at this pace. That's $10 million more. What's the number that the taxpayers can pay? The difference of $10 million is more than $2 per thousand on average for a $500,000 house in all 4 towns. That is over $1,000 on top of the added money added in, because cuts were made last year and all I keep hearing is, we're gonna add more money into it because it was cut last year. It was a mandate to cut the budget. Now we have to find out how to live within that budget that was mandated. No more new fields. Bring the $300,000 HVAC out of CIP. That's where it belongs. It's a maintenance, it's a repair. It doesn't belong in the lease. All these things that pop up, a boiler's gonna cut. It belongs in maintenance and repair. It doesn't belong raising up our budget every year. We can't afford it anymore. No one can afford it anymore. A new field? What is the cost of this unit that we're talking about? It's not $296,000. It's not. And EEI does not work for free. The fact that we're not going out to bid is entirely ridiculous. It was not on the $126 million list because I went back and looked to see if these units were listed. You stated earlier, Mr. Sherwood, it was not. These were not on that list. It's an incorrect statement. I specifically looked for it. Let's be honest with what we're doing. We're hurting taxpayers. Taxation without representation goes way back. When an amount of money is arbitrarily thrown at a vote, 300,000 here, 300,000 there. What does that do? It doesn't seem like a lot. It's thrown around like it's penny change. It's not. It adds up and it hurts. Gotta think about it. There's gonna be a bubble that you can't go to anymore.
Thank you.
Say it again.
No,
I wanna go up there.
well then sign a form.
Thank you. Just put a 2 by my thing. Thank you.
3 minutes.
Now, and this won't take very long. The relief field, the reason for the relief field was to defer maintenance on the rest of the fields because we continue to chase our tails and putting big money into fields that we can't keep up with and maintain. So the idea was to invest in a field, to give other fields a chance to rest instead of dumping more money into them. So it was actually a cost savings, not a cost spending. That was the philosophy behind that. So I remember, I hate to bring up the turf, but the turf was another way of deferring maintenance and saving $80,000 a year in perpetuity in maintaining the football field. That got shut down. I respect the will of the voters. That's the way it went. But the reality is that thing would already be paid for and we would be saving $80,000 a year in perpetuity. Now, even I have a hard time from $750,000 going to $1.6 million to put that field in, justifying that. But that's what happens when you put things off. $750,000 to save $80,000 a year for life versus $1.6 million. Sometimes you can't always be short-sighted. You have to invest in your facilities to move forward. So there was no one being irresponsible. This board was thinking about deferring the maintenance, and we were just investigating it. No one had made a decision to move forward on it. So let's let the facts be what the facts are, not what somebody would like them to be. Thank you.
Alright, do we have any other delegates or individuals, Linda? Alright, cool. We do have to go into a non-public. Shauna,
Make a motion to go into non-public under 91-A:3, subparagraph C.
motion made by Shauna, do I have a second? Second by Bree. Can I have a roll call vote? And we will not be back other than just to seal the meetings.
John Woodward, Randy Newton, Mark
Yes.
Sherwood, Samantha,
Yes.
Larry Woodward,
Yes.
Paula Page,
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, you did good.